Welcome, welcome everybody to today's stream. I'm back with some gaming of Guild Wars 2 finally. Hope you had a nice time, hope you had a nice week, and hopefully now a nice weekend. Welcome, welcome. So here we are, playing some PvP Rush. It's still ongoing for another 3 days. So great time to jump into PvP if you've never played it before, and even if you played it before, it's really good rewards. Great buff here, more loot, and you get some achievements that give you even more loot, like 2.5 or no, I think it's almost two, that's it. Reward tracks that you get basically for playing like a couple of matches. I think if you win 7 matches, you get everything here. It's crazy. It's a lot of loot, like effectively like, yeah, I would say around 100 gold if you get everything here. And for 7 matches, that's pretty good. So if you have a little bit of interest in playing PvP, that's a very good way of getting some gold. And it also gives you some account bond currency, of course, that you can use for crafting legendaries and stuff like that. And I just like it, you know. I think PvP is good in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I think it's not the best it has been. Yeah, it's just not the highest population anymore. But during the rush events, I personally think actually it's a decent time to play because a lot of players are playing. Let's see what we get here. I'm still in my placement, so we never know what's going on. And I will try to find a build that suits our team. But currently I'm on Conditioned Reaper. It's such an old school build. I still really like it. You know, it's like, I don't know, at this point probably like 6 years old. Same build, exactly the same build pretty much. It's just so good. It really is. It's not like an S tier build, but it's a good build, I would say. A tier or something. So, as usual, if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, let me know. Always happy to talk about it. And trying to help, of course. So let's see what we get here. Good morning to everyone. Or wherever you are, good day. Let's say it like that. So what do we have here? We have a Virtuoso, a Gale Shot, and 2 Warriors. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, Warrior, if they are support, that's actually pretty good. That looks like a support. And what else do we have in the enemy team? Berserker, another probably support, another Virtuoso, Amalgam, and probably a Core Necromancer. The question now is, should I go more aggressive here? Because we actually have a little bit of like... Yeah, we should have enough damage. I think we go Reaper here. I think Reaper is actually not a sad pick here. What type of monitor do I use? So it's just a normal monitor, nothing special, nothing like... It's just I think, like, I'm not even sure, I'm pretty sure it has 144 hertz. That's the only like special feature. Everything else is like very like normal, like not a crazy big one, not some kind of like rounded one or something like that. It's really just a very, very normal one. I think it should be in the description of the Twitch chat, and in the YouTube chat I don't have it in the description yet, but I will make a video about my settings or my, how's it called, all my hardware and stuff like that. I want to make a video about it because I actually think that you can play Guild Wars 2 especially with very, very low hardware. Yeah, and I want to make a video about that, and that's a good question, Nathan, to bring up here. Okay, so let's concentrate a bit on the game. So we have 2 supports, I think. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Hopefully that will not kill us, because we have not that much damage with 2 supports in the team fight. But I'm a DPS player, so that should actually help me a bit, like staying alive. Welcome, boss. Welcome, welcome. So what do they have here? Oh, that was a nasty pull. So let's go on the Virtuoso here. I think that's a good target. Already popped the invuln. Get the corrupt here. Oh, that is a nasty corrupt. Okay, looks like we are killing them. Haven't played since VOE dropped. What's a good suggested DPS build for instance content? Something somewhat smooth brain friendly? I would say it's still, like, to this day, one of the best DPS builds for like getting into group content, stuff like that, is Power Rifle Mechanist. It's extremely strong. It's very easy to play, it's very forgiving, and it has some nice ranged option. It's just a really, really good pick, I would say. If they don't teamfight us, we have a bit of a problem. I think I will go for the decap here. Yeah, I think power rifle mech is awesome. It's really, really good. Because it's like very forgiving, it has range damage, it has a very easy rotation. I have a build guide on my YouTube channel, of course, about it. I don't know. I think it's just one of the best builds to start getting into like rather like more organized groups. Let's say it like that. I mean, we won the whole map. That's good. We just have to be a bit careful. They're all on respawn. Double dodging. Nice, nice. Double dodging detected. Into invuln. We should get like a good damage output here. Nice, we got them. This is a power reaper, a bit scary, but okay. Welcome, Jack. Welcome, welcome. And welcome, Monsiflop. Welcome, welcome. Could you remind me your creator code to use in Guild Wars 2 shop? I want to support your channel. So the thing is, if you want to support me, you can just go and check out my description. There is the link for my, so to say, referral link. And then you can, if you purchase any Guild Wars 2 expansion, you can support me for free if you use that one. It's in the description of the Twitch stream and the YouTube stream. Just scroll down a bit and you will find it there. I'm in not a good spot here. I should not be 1v2ing as a DPS build. I don't know how I ended up here, to be honest. Not a good spot. No, maybe we can get a little bit of damage down. Maybe even the decap here. Almost got the decap. That's funny. Okay. Played some PvP as power conduit for the event and I keep getting one-shotted by everyone. It's so frustrating. Yeah, I mean, power conduit is one of the harder builds to play, but in general, it's like the meta is very like hit or miss, which means that if you play a build that is squishy, you get one-shotted, but you can also one-shot others. If you play a tanky build, you might not get one-shotted that easily, but you also, let's say, you don't have the craziest impact on the match. And that's always like, what do you want? Do you want to like survive and like roll the dice and hopefully like get a good team? Or do you want to actually impact the team yourself? You should get the kill here, like, come on. Okay. Power Reaper. Not a really good 1v2 again. Now we lost the whole map for that. That's not good. I mean, this is actually not good place to die here, to be honest, because I cannot rally that easily. That's really bad. I should not have died here, to be honest. Yeah, that is not good. That is not good. But it's a problem is always, maybe we get a rally here though. No, they won the 1v3. Not good. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem of if you're playing a not meta build. If you're not crazy good, you lose like fair matchups of sometimes. I mean, this is also not meta, to be honest. This is like a conditioned berserker or something like that, side note berserker. I could have played that so much better. It always hurts me like really hard if I like just play bad. Yeah, that's really like hurting. Okay, I mean, focus up. We have a close match here at hand. Hopefully it's entertaining to watch if I play better here. So let's focus up, focus up. Let's push far, hopefully in the team fight here. How do you like Solo Mirage? Solo Mirage is really good. Like, if you play solo in open world, it's really good. Like, it's a good build. So let's see what we have here. Like, how many people are here? Like, too many? How many people are here? Like, again, we are outnumbered. I'm always in an outnumbered situation. That's not where you want to be as a Reaper. Yeah. That's not good. I mean, I don't even know. Wherever I go, my team is instantly dead. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Maybe we can deny the decap a bit. To be honest, I like seeing that it's possible you can be beat sometimes. It's more human than always winning. Yeah, I mean, that's true, of course. I mean, the thing is, even the best players, you know, even the, like, if you look at the best PvP players like Boys, like Naru, and those people like Grimcheck, they get beaten all the time. Not necessarily because they played bad, it's just because you cannot win everything. That's how the matchmaking works. You know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It always depends on your team as well. It's like, after all, a 5 versus 5. And even if you play really, really well, sometimes you make a mistake, you know. Okay, that's an interesting, like, stealth here. Oh my god, we lost the whole map for that. Okay, this guy is maybe a good kill. I have to go for the decap here, but there's probably the warrior. Where can we go? No, maybe no one here. Okay, then we get the decap. You have to play really carefully here. They are already like 90 points ahead. Okay, there's the warrior. It doesn't have a stun break, or it does? Okay. Yeah, I think this guy's dead. That's good. Let's focus up and get a few kills here. We are outnumbering them, I think. Oh my god, my team is dead. Now I'm dead. That is painful. I don't even know. We have 2 support warriors and one of them is decapping far. That's not what you should do as a support. Let me tell you that if you're not in a team fight as a support, that is a little bit sketchy. I have to be honest. Okay, I mean, I don't know. How can we win this? How can we win this? It's still winnable. I'm always believing, like, to fight until the last, like, possible moment where we cannot win anymore. But I don't know. Do I want to push in this fight? Or should I support my warrior here? I don't know. It's a bit annoying to fight against this guy. Not good, not good, not good. We have to be really, really careful. Like, we should get the decap at far, but we also have to win the... I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I will try to get the decap now, but my team is losing everywhere. I don't know. Looks really tough. Looks really tough. Not a good showcase of the build. I really like to showcase Reaper because people always underestimate how good Reaper is in PvP, but this is not a good showcase, sadly. Very sad. Welcome, Azul. Welcome, welcome. Which class would you recommend for low intensity PvP? I would say Todd Evoker is one of the best ones, but the problem is, like, playing low intensity in PvP is like saying you're playing a build that is a little bit worse than the normal build. And then you will definitely notice it. That's the big problem of, like, playing PvP, is like, if you play a build that is worse than the enemy build, even if you, like, have an easier time with it, you will probably lose with it. That's the sad truth a bit. PvP is very skill dependent, and if you have less skill than the enemy, then you will probably lose. That's... Oh my god. Yeah, not good. Not good showcase. Very sad. Very sad. But yeah, so I would say probably Todd Evoker is easy to get into. I would say even Support Paragon is not a very hard build. Maybe we can play that next match. Support Paragon is actually, like, quite straightforward. It plays almost exactly like in PvE Support Paragon. But you have to understand that you are support, so you don't deal damage. You really want to, like, outplay the enemy by rotating to your team and healing them and stuff like that. I don't know, PvP is like play a build that you like. Watch my, so to say, tier list if you want to go for a good build, and stick with one. I think low intensity in PvP and World vs. World is like, that's why I don't make videos about it, because it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot, to be honest. Like, you play a build that is meta and try to learn it. And if you cannot press all the buttons, try to live with that and try to press a little bit less buttons, but try to still play a meta build. I think you shoot a bit yourself in the foot if you don't play a strong build. That is sadly my opinion on low intensity in competitive modes. Exactly. You try to pick what suits your playstyle and try to stick with this build if you like it, of course, and then go from there. That is what I would say. Because if you have a low intensity build, it is just not good enough to compete, even if you are, so to say, easier to get into it. I would say, like, there are so many ones. Like, for example, you can even play, what's a good other example? Like, typically side noder builds are a bit less stressful for new players because you only have to typically fight one other players. That's why I always try to recommend side noding builds for new players. But yeah, stick with one build and try to get better at it and try to see why you died and stuff like that. And even if you cannot press all the buttons all the time, that's better than playing a build that is specifically tailor-made for being worse but easier to get into. That's my opinion, yeah. So what is after Visions of Eternity? We don't know anything about that yet, so we will have to see. We just know the next schedule, so the next update for Visions of Eternity, wait, there it is in 59 days. So that's pretty much like beginning of May. That's the next update for Visions of Eternity. And then after that, we have 3 months. And then in August, probably something like that, we have the last update of Visions of Eternity. After that, we know nothing. We don't know what's going on. So maybe we get a confirmation about that, maybe not. We will have to see. We will have to see. So let's get some boosters here. Always keep your gobblers and boosters up if you can. Gives a lot of more loot. Welcome Samstorm, welcome, welcome. And welcome Snowbleach. Hope you're all doing fine. We are back with streaming here. Back with some Guild Wars 2, having some fun during the PvP rush. Yeah, hopefully. And yeah. Best value for you, expansion for you, Soto versus End of Dragons. I personally would say End of Dragons is more value for me personally because it has more maps, it has elite specs, which Soto doesn't. It has masteries that are somewhat impactful, a little bit at least, whereas Soto doesn't really have any good crazy masteries other than the Sky Scale. Of course, the Sky Scale is a good selling point, so if you don't have the Sky Scale, that's a decent selling point. And if you already have another expansion with elite specs, Soto gets actually like higher up on the list, so to say. And Soto also unlocks relics, legendary armor from open world, so there are a lot of features in Soto, but the content, in my opinion, is not as good as End of Dragons. I have a full video about like what expansion I think is the best and which one I should like would recommend for you. It's like called something the DLC tier list. You can also always find all my tier lists, all my videos on my website if you're looking for something. But for specifically this question, if you want Soto or End of Dragons, I would say it heavily depends which other expansions you have. Okay, we cannot play support. We already have another support. Yep. So what do we want here? I guess we play some Evoker here. I don't know if that's a good match with the Gale Shot and the Daredevil. Let's play some Evoker. But yeah, I think like if you have any other expansion with elite specs, Soto gets actually probably more value if you don't have the Sky Scale, for example, because you get so much like unlocks and features that are worth it. But if you just in a vacuum look at the expansions, End of Dragons is in my opinion way better from the value that you get. Because it provides you with like a lot of content, with really good quality content in my opinion. It provides you with elite specs, it provides you with really good features as well. I think overall End of Dragons is better for me. It's one of the best expansions for Guild Wars 2. Whereas Soto is in a vacuum decent, but not like crazy good because the later patches are just a little bit lackluster and the maps are not like that unique or that cool in my opinion. So that's my answer there. Hopefully that helps you a bit, but I cannot give you a clear recommendation for either of them because it always depends a bit what you already have, what you want to get out of an expansion. Yeah, End of Dragons was, so to say, the last actual big expansion of Guild Wars 2. Soto, Chantier Wilds, and Visions of Eternity are expansions, but they are on a yearly cycle, so that means that they have way less content and have, so to say, also way less development time. And that's good for people that want to have continuous updates, but it's bad for people that want to have a like crazy big content drop like we had with End of Dragons. That was the last one, yeah, for sure. Okay, we already got the invulnerability, that's good. Let's try to get some damage here on the... Of course, there are always two people on me. Okay. Do we live here? Hopefully. Can we get the kill? We got the kill, very nice. Got the kill on the thief, that's good. That's already a good like matchup for us. But my team lost everything else. That's of course not that good. Okay, we got another kill here, that's good, but maybe we can get the rally here. Doesn't look good though. Yeah, sad. We got a stealth here. Maybe we can hand rest there? Probably not. Probably stupid, but who knows? No, the pet will hit me. Oh no. Can you recommend a power spec at the moment? Which game mode do you want to play, Schmoddy? If you want to play PvP, I think like there are a lot of power specs right now. It feels like a little bit of a power meta right now. If you talk about PvE specifically, it depends on the content piece that you want to do. Strike mission or like raids. If you want to do like open world, if you want to do like fractals, there are a lot of different considerations that you have. Oh my god, we have an AFK. I don't know what's going on. Okay, now they are moving, but that's not good. It's never good if you have AFK in the beginning of a match. That just tends to let more people AFK. Oh my god. I think I disengaged too late here, but... How can we win this? I don't know. Tough one again. So many tough matches today to win. Maybe we can get the Untamed though. It would be good. Okay. I could at least get the node a bit. That's good. But not perfect. Maybe we can just kill the pet here. It's always good to kill the Untamed pet. They lose a lot of value. In general, rangers except Soul Beast, if you kill the pet, that's always valuable. I think this guy is dead. That's good. We have the decap at far. I mean, it's not lost. We have like 120 points to catch up. That's doable. Okay, there is an engineer here. I have to stand on node here. That's also not necessarily where I want to be, but okay. I think I will use that on node and hopefully get a nice burst here. That is decent, but we are against 3 people here. 4 people now with the thief coming in as well. Very scary. Okay, we got the knockdown on the thief, but they have so much support. Oh my god, and the thief engage. Daredevil is really good right now in PvP. The engage here was like disgusting. So much damage. Yeah. I do a lot of fractals and open world. Then I would say best power build. I mean, it's like depending on your class. Every class is a really good build. Like I would say best power build, for example, for fractals, specifically for ranger, is probably like Soul Beast. Like if you tell me your class that you like to play, I can give you a definite answer to this because there are so many good builds right now. I have tier lists for all about them. Yeah. If you like to play, Dragon Hunter is good. That's a really good suggestion, I would say. Dragon Hunter is a solid choice for almost all such like points that you brought up here. In open world, if you solo specifically, Dragon Hunter might not be absolute best option. But other than that, oh my god, I think this is a cursed match again, somewhat sadly. I mean, we got the kill here, but we are also outnumbering. No, we are not. Okay, they got the rally here. We can get still the counter kill, hopefully. Yeah. For PvP, is it the majority power specs? I think it's like somewhat like in the middle. Like, yeah, like 2 people follow me here. That's a bit tough. Yeah, I think like you have like Condi Conduit and Condi Reaper that are typically considered one of the best Condi builds right now, and everything else is pretty much like power. Maybe Spectre, Condi Spectre is also good, but I would say it's always like typically a split of 75% of the DPS specs are power in PvP and 25 are Condi. Condi is typically not often like absolutely crazy meta, because if you play only Condi specs, then the meta tends to be a bit bunker heavy, and that's just what they don't really want to have in the game. That's why it's typically more like often more power specs are meta, at least in the last couple of years. Not saying that Condi specs are bad, you see here Amalgam is good and stuff like that. But in general, from what you have in the last few years, it's always like typically power is the main thing. Yeah, I mean, this is not looking that hot. Nice, we got the kill. That's like that's the power of kiting. Just wanted to showcase it here. I mean, maybe we win this, maybe. Did they get the rally? Oh my god, they get the rally on their warrior. That's very sad. Yeah, that actually like was the nail in the coffin, to be honest. Yeah. Yes, this is Fresh Air Evoker. Or it's not Fresh Air Evoker, but you play exactly like Fresh Air Evoker because you don't have the trait Fresh Air. That's the funny thing. If you play Evoker, you have the ability to get 1 second cooldown on air. If you have the lightning or the sap, the air hair, and then I don't need to play Fresh Air, so I can play Bolt to the Heart. But it plays like Fresh Air Evoker. It has exactly the same playstyle. Yeah. We can't use that because of course they have projectile destruction. And they are like the cavalry is approaching. So not good, not good. And of course they hit me through the wall. Always good. A new play Necromancer Core. Condi seems long to finish players. Yeah, exactly. That's the downside of conditions. Conditions are, so to say, not bursty at all. So you need forever to kill enemies, or very long. But you typically also have a more defensive build. That is typically what you have. That's the downside of playing, so to say, a build that is like defensive, but is not bursty anymore. If you want to play a build that kills enemies very fast, for example, I'm playing a build right now, then you're very squishy. If you get engaged by a DPS build, you will die in 2 shots or something, but you can also kill them in 2 shots. That's just, you have to find a sweet spot there for you, that you have a build that is like fun to play, but also good, and you know what to do with it. That's just, yeah. Welcome Burgerito, welcome. Hope you all had a nice day so far and a nice week. And as usual, if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. Let's talk about some stuff. But yeah, I would say PvP is like, that's why I'm also like playing a bit of World vs. World right now. It feels sometimes a bit like, yeah, sometimes you cannot influence your matches, and that's just, I really want to like have fun. And if I lose 2 matches in a row, I typically just say, okay, I will play another game mode. I don't want to have my mental attitude affected by like winning and losing matches all the time. Or not winning and losing matches all the time, rather. So let's play some World vs. World, but I will maybe come back to PvP later. It's just like often a gamble, especially if you play in not the prime time, which currently in the EU it's not prime time, it's early morning or somewhat early morning. In World vs. World, I can't even make any kills. Every class has protection and boon duration. Yeah, that is true. World vs. World, especially if you roam, is like very like, yeah, it's very. This is a build that is focused on like conditions that takes longer to kill enemies. But in general, I would agree with you. It's like either you play against a build that is extremely squishy and one-shots you, or you play most likely against a build that is extremely defensive and has a lot of like protection uptime, a lot of defensive stats. Yeah, World vs. World, especially in roaming, is like you play either an obnoxious build yourself or you will probably lose. Like roaming is really about who has the more obnoxious, more annoying build to play against, and that's quite likely the person to win. It's a little bit sad that this is the case, but this is just how the meta evolves. You know, if you play very honest builds with no protection, with no defenses, then you will probably lose against builds that have those defenses. That's just, yeah, sad truth, yeah. In my opinion, they should do some massive gear changes in terms of removing Minstrel. So the thing is, I always advocate for making the meta less bunker heavy in general in World vs. World and PvP, and making the meta a bit more interesting so that you have more gear sets that you can use. But the problem is, Minstrel is such a staple in Zerg play. Because in Zergs, so in 50 vs 50 or like 30 vs 30 fights, it's always the best to have a dedicated support. The same goes for PvP as well. And those dedicated support need to have as much defense as possible because they should not die at all. And only then they can make sure that the real DPS players can survive. And Minstrel is just the perfect stat for that. So could you nerf it? Maybe. The only solution that would change the meta a lot would be by completely removing it, but that would change the meta in a way that might not be a good thing, because it's just like the meta in World vs. World is like typically 2, 3, 4 supports per sub-squad, per sub-party, and that is just obnoxious. If you would change the gear for all of them, then I don't even know if the meta would play, if people in World vs. World would play it similar like that or completely change how it is played. I have no clue, and I have to be honest, I think ArenaNet doesn't have a clue either, and about how the meta would change if we make drastic changes like that. I think in a lot of cases you just cannot foresee how the meta evolves, and therefore they are just too scared to change it. I think that's the truth here. They just don't want to make any gear changes. So that they did it once with Celestial, and it had some effects that are not necessarily the best for the whole game mode. For roaming, now you have Trailblazer running around, and you have like just perma protection builds running around. I don't know. For me, it's as a player that plays all game modes and all content, I think gear changes, I don't see them happening. I really don't. Like changes to Minstrel, changing any stat types, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening, sadly. I think the meta is pretty stale in World vs. World, and that's for a reason, and I think ArenaNet is not really up to changing it this drastically, yeah. Armor quality effects in World vs. World. So, no. You have this armor buff, how is it called, reinforced armor and like stuff like that, that does not affect your World vs. World thing. The only thing that affects World vs. World is if you have no armor equipped, obviously. Then you are naked and you get a debuff, or you don't get the armor buff. Yeah, I'm sorry for telling you that weirdly, but there is, so to say, every armor piece that you equip gives you armor. You can see it here, defenses, yeah. It's on top of the green number, 127, that's the number. And if you equip armor, that will give you defenses. If you have that no armor equipped, it will not give you defenses, but everything else is, so to say, in World vs. World, the same as in PvE. And you don't get this where is it, this reinforced armor buff. This will not count. Do you agree the PvP mini-season was a dumpster fire with the bugs and lack of communication? So I think this mini-season was one of the worst ones, I agree with you, because it was like, for me, it was just like, it came out of the blue in like what it was, and no one like really cared, and it was like for 7 days, it was a 3v3, I think. And I don't know, and it had some bugs. I think it was not very well done, very well handled. I think we had way better seasons. I had to be honest, I expected push mini season, and I did not see why 3v3 or 2v2 is there. And why it was so, yeah, rather bad. I have no clue. Nice, we have a 1-on-1. Let's test the build here. But I just, at this point, I like to play when it's fun, and if it's not fun, I don't play it. And the mini season is just 7 days, so it's not like insanely long. That's the good part. This is, I'm actually playing a very obnoxious build, I have to be honest. Like, It's like some passive burning around me all the time, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Like Paragon is so strong in the current meta that it's just like if you didn't have a Paragon, you probably lost if the enemy team had a Paragon. It's pretty. The meta in PvP is always very, especially in death matches, it's always very okay. This guy is racing. Interesting. Yeah, I think the meta is always very like dependent on the supports, and especially in death matches, it's really like if you play the superior comp, it's pretty hard to win against them if you're not like insanely skill gapping them. So I personally think it's like it's pretty much like not that fun if you don't want to always play the perfect meta composition, especially if you're pucking. So if you're not like having a meta like 3-player team and you communicating on voice chat. I think that's why I don't engage in deathmatch that much. I think it's I like push, I like conquest because there I can just play and have fun. But in like deathmatch, it's really like comp dependent, and it's really like dependent on your allies and your communication, and that's not good if you have like just random players with you. That's just how it is. Welcome, Baron. Welcome. Yeah, exactly. The Boon Ball meta. Exactly. They just have to do one thing. Boon duration, 2 others, cut by half. That would be a very interesting change. I actually, that is the first like change to gear that I heard in a long time. That is actually, in my opinion, potentially a good change for almost everyone. Yeah, that is crazy. That is a good change. I like it. Because this would, so to say, make it so that Boon Ball is not necessarily all the time the best option anymore. You would consider other builds and other playstyles a bit more if the boon duration that you output is not like you. Oh my god, that was a nasty spike. That's why you should be in the squad, by the way. Nice, we got the rally. Can I join the squad? Yes, I can. So yeah, I think it's like good suggestion here. I mean, of course, that is not necessarily perfect. There's always some negatives as well. Don't get me wrong here. I think there are always negatives to any change that you do, and will not probably fix the whole like issue completely, but it will definitely address it in an interesting way, and hopefully in a is better than before. I'm still, like I said, I think ArenaNet is very scared of making any changes to numbers of gear. I think they are really scared to do that. Like the only time I can remember that did that outside of PvP was the Celestial change. That is the only time they made a big change to the gearing and numbers of gear. That is the only thing I remember. So not sure. What should I bring first to my level 80 Necromancer, my Guardian or Elementalist? I would say choose the one that you like the most. Like all of them are very good at end game. Every class is, to be honest. So choose the one that you like the most. Like if you like Necromancer, go for Necromancer. If you like Guardian, go for Guardian. I personally would say if you have no preference, Guardian is the most flexible one, but that's just my like point here. Yeah. I finished my first legendary ring this week. Nice, congrats. Nice, very good job. Yeah, exactly. The releasing a new game mode like with push and just in general, and then don't pushing it further, sorry for the pun here, I don't know, it feels a bit sad, because push was fun and is still fun, but if the player base is spread between 3v3, push, conquest, and even ATs, then the low player base for PvP already is not really like, it's not helping. Let's say it like that, very friendly here. It's not helping. Oh my god, the corrupts are strong here in this enemy squad. But it's nice, we have some fights. Actually, some even fights. That's how we like it. Do you think Alacrity Heal Scratch is okay in Fractals? It's okay. Especially in normal mode Fractals, it's okay. It's not the best healer anymore, but it's decent. Yeah, I think it's like if you want to go for challenge modes and stuff, you definitely notice a little bit of like not perfect like how it is, but it's decent. I would say it's like for me in A-tier build, something like that as a healer. Yeah, it's okay. If you like it, go for it. You will definitely get this job done. Yeah. If Engineer had a staff, what do you think the skills would be? I think a staff on Engineer would be pretty support oriented, like a melee support weapon. Engineer doesn't have that. I like maybe with the exception of Mace. I think something like that. I think staff would be somewhat close to warrior staff on engineer, but I highly doubt that we'll ever get that. I mention that every time it comes up, but I personally think we will never get new weapons on just any spec anymore. I think they notice that more weapons does not necessarily mean it's more choices, because oftentimes you choose the best fit. And if you want to have, for example, engineer, the example is like if you have a power weapon which is sword and you have a power weapon which is hammer, you choose the one with the 1% more damage. And that's a little bit like sad. And I think that goes very similar with support weapons and stuff like that. And just one example here. Yeah, that's my take there. What do with the drop descended gear now that you can't restat them for research nodes? I would say either keep it for alternate characters that you want to do, and if you have like full legendary or don't want to have any other characters with ascended gear anymore, then just like sell it, you know, or like salvage it. If you salvage it, you get some. I think if you get like drop gear from raids, you get some magnetite shards, so that's good. I don't know. I personally think like I just keep it. I have so many characters, I use them for storage. Maybe there will come a day where you maybe some kind of heroes or something like that, like in Guild Wars 1, where you need ascended gear for it. I have no clue, but I just keep it just in case. But I think just like any way of getting rid of it if you don't have enough space is probably the best choice here. I have to be honest. I don't see any hero system coming to Guild Wars 2, so don't worry too much. Yeah. The perception of PvP is also worse than it actually is. It is not infested by bots and win traders. Yeah, exactly. That brings me to a really good point. Yeah. This is, by the way, if you want to know what my mouse cursor here is, !mouse in the Twitch chat, and then you get the answer to this question. I made a video yesterday, or I released a video yesterday, about gold gain in PvP. And this is a video that I researched a long time. That is a video that I put a lot of effort in, and hopefully you can see that. The problem is, in the first 10 comments I got on this video, 8 of them told me PvP, I don't like PvP, it's infested by bots, it has like, it's really bad population, it's not fun and stuff like that. And that is just not a good image about PvP. And I have to be honest, I think it's not even the case. At least for me, I never encounter bots. I never encounter like toxicity. Or not never, but like almost never. I play a lot of PvP. Maybe I just don't read the chat enough, but I don't really care and don't encounter it that often. So I personally think it's actually crazy to me that the image of PvP is so bad, and that doesn't help get more players into PvP. It quite the opposite. It makes it so that people don't even try PvP because they only hear bad things about it, and therefore we have less population going into PvP. We have less new blood coming in, and therefore we have less population, and making the issue that might be there even worse. I think it's crazy. It's like a vicious cycle, and it's quite sad, to be honest, because PvP in Guild Wars 2 is actually baseline a very fun game mode. At least I think it's really well designed. But yeah, what can I say? That's just the opinion of one like content creator liking Guild Wars 2 PvP. Yeah. Especially in World vs. World, I see players with their Warclaw quickly gallop forward for a short distance. Most of the time they jump straight forward. I've my Warclaw for full skilled and can't find the skill. So in World vs. World you have different Warclaws like skills. You have to go into World vs. World and get the mastery in World vs. World. So ranking up World vs. World mastery for that. Are there any builds you recommend to play with high ping? It depends on the game mode that you play, but in general, playing a heavy armor class, for example, like Warrior or Guardian, is probably better than playing a class that is very reliant on instant cast like Mesmer and Thief. But specific builds, I would say in general, low intensity builds are probably your best bet in PvE, because they don't rely on pressing insane amount of buttons in a perfect rotation. I have a full tier list and like playlist on my YouTube channel about that if you want to know more, but it depends a bit on the classes that you like to play, so let me know and I can give you more answers there. I had 2 AFKs in 200 games. Exactly. It's like, yeah, sure, it's very annoying if there is someone AFK, but 2 players in like 200 games, that shows how over like sold the issue is. I really think that it's I wouldn't say it's a non-issue, but I think like AFKing in PvP is way too like in Reddit, in the forum and stuff like that. I think it's like almost, maybe if you play off hours, maybe then it's worse. But to be honest, I have not encountered it that often. It's just crazy to me that people always say, oh, it's so bad, it's so bad. I don't see it. Yeah. I don't know. It's really sad to me that like PvP is in a state like that where the image of it is so much worse than it actually is, that we have less people joining it. That's really sad to me. It really is. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. PvP is fun. You know, you don't have to, like, PvP is fun. And I agree that if you go for the leaderboard and if you want to get first place, like at the end of a season, yeah, that can be a bit sweaty and it can be a bit like not very engaging for the actual gameplay. But like, come on, like how many people do that? Like most people just play PvP for fun. And I actually think it's good, like because exactly for playing for fun, it's actually a good game mode. And like I proved in my video from yesterday on YouTube, it's actually good gold per hour. Like if you play PvP correct, or like correct, if you just play casual PvP, you get between 12 and 35 gold per hour if you play just ranked PvP. And the 12 gold is like the bare minimum. It's actually crazy. You just have to watch the video and see it. And I prove it in there. And it's really like PvP is fun and a good gold income. I think it's just very underrated. And I want to get more players into PvP if you have not noticed that yet. Welcome, Saint. Welcome, welcome. That's all true. I've played 1,600 hours in 16 months and 10 of that were in PvP. Cheated, unbalanced, not new player friendly. I don't know. I think like I agree that it might not be new player friendly, not that, but I think it's like cheating and stuff like that. I think it's like you just often don't understand what's happening. That doesn't mean they are cheating. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, people can't handle losing well. Yeah, exactly. People, that's generally an issue, not only in gaming, in like almost every situation in the world. Yeah. Yeah. Without rush, you can still earn that much? Yeah, exactly. Like the whole video, the whole point of the video is that I prove in the video that PvP rewards without dailies, without weeklies, so not using, so to say, I'm having my Wizard's Vault set to PvP, without calculating that in, and without the rush event, you get at least 12 gold per hour. At least. And that's crazy, you know, that's the lowest number. That means you lose every match. That means you actually get no additional rewards. That means you get no conversions in there, because if you convert the stuff that you get, if you use the Mystic Clovers and calculate that in, if you use the Spirit Shards, then you can go up to 35 gold per hour with just playing ranked PvP. And that is not meaning that you win every match. That's just a normal win rate of 50%. That's the crazy thing. So if you don't believe me, watch this video. I'm normally not like promoting my videos that much, but this is really important. If you think PvP is like bad gold per hour, watch this video. It should prove you wrong. Yeah, or it should prove you that it is actually good gold per hour. Because 35 gold per hour is pretty good. Like there is almost no gold farm in Guild Wars 2 that is as casual as 24/7 that you can play it as PvP if you want to play PvP. Of course, if you don't like it, that's a completely different issue and you don't have to play it. But if you say it's bad gold and you just don't want to play it because it doesn't reward you for your time, I think that is not true. Yeah. I'm good, Grover. How are you? How are you? What's going on here? What do we do here? Some food in the Hylex. Nice. Okay, okay. Prices should generally trend down with the removal of unlimited gold from Wizard's World. Yeah, that is a good point. I really would like to have some kind of blog post of ArenaNet at some point that tell us how much that impacted the economy. Because I think we as players, as a single account, don't typically see how much that impacts the economy. Like the Wizard's Vault had a permanent, like gold, like bag of coin permanent, and you could like invest a decent chunk of like Wizards coins into getting gold, direct liquid gold. And I think that is quite impactful that they removed it. I think it's actually probably the most impactful change since the Wizards Vault came out. And that's very interesting to me, and I want to see how that changed the inflation or deflation. Because I think we had a slight inflation, and if that is now fixed, we might have a really good like state of the economy. Because one of the prime examples that I always give is like the change of how Generation 1 weapons, Legendary Generation 1 weapons, worked compared to before they released the Wizard's Vault and the Legendary Starter Kit. Legendary Starter Kit made Legendary Generation 1 weapons drop in price by almost like 50%. Not completely, but almost. It's crazy. And I think this is not only the Legendary Starter Kit, but it's also inflation. And I think if they fix the inflation issue, I think that would be a pretty good thing to have. Oh my god. I was there, but then I wasn't. So sad. We are here in a tryhard server, apparently. They use all the shortcuts. That's crazy. That I don't know. Oh no. Coming back from a long break. Ended on chapter 16 in End of... Oh, there's the squad. I found it. In End of Dragons, story-wise. Yeah, I mean, welcome back. And I personally would say, like, if you like story in Guild Wars 2, you have a lot of story to play through, yeah, since then. It's not as much as you had before End of Dragons, but it's still a decent chunk. And End of Dragons is like probably one of the best storytelling in the whole game. When the economy in Guild Wars is more stable than my own countries, I think, to be honest, one of the big, like, there are two things that no one talks about in Guild Wars 2, or in general in like the MMO communities, about Guild Wars 2 that is extremely well handled. And one of them is the economy. The economy in Guild Wars 2 is extremely stable. If you look at how much Ecto prices fluctuate, they always fluctuate over the course of a year. But if you look and compare the Ecto prices when they came out to what they are now, the Ecto price is almost exactly the same. It's crazy. Guild Wars 2, whoever balances the economy, they are really good at it. They know what they are doing. And the reason for that is that we have this like currency exchange. They want to have a value for gems and gold that is very high and that doesn't change in a negative way to impact their sales. So it makes sense. It's in a business perspective, it makes sense to have a good economy in this game. But I also think that it's for the players way more interesting. For the players, it's way more interesting if you have a good economy as well. So I personally think they have a really, they should be praised for that. And it's really good. The economy, yeah, I agree that the tier 6 mats changed like drastically, but in terms of ectos and how much gold is worth, I think it's quite similar. Like a lot of games have the issue that over the course of time, either you have crazy deflation or you have crazy inflation. And both of those are not really good. And I think in Guild Wars 2, we have a decent middle ground. I really think so. So yeah, I think they should, like, that should be mentioned. I'm not saying that the gold farming and stuff like that in Guild Wars 2 is perfectly balanced. I think they should definitely improve a bit on that, but it's definitely way better than it could be. Way, way better. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that some of the tier 6 materials are also more expensive than Ectos, but that was the case in the beginning of the game as well. There were some, like, when there was, back in the old days, we farmed ore maps, so like Cursed Shore maps farm and stuff like that, specifically for tier 6 materials, because back then it was really hard to actually get tier 6 materials any other way. And they were really expensive back then, even when they, like, people farmed it like crazy, because people used it for the legendaries all the time. So there was like an interesting economy back then as well. Nowadays it's a bit different, but yeah, I think like tier 6 materials and Ectos, that always was a staple of gold farming. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The new legendaries that also are like very accessible with the legendary open world ring, with the open world backpack that we got with Chanterwalds. There is a lot of things for like very casual players as well. So you definitely notice the prices going down. If you look at, or going up rather, if you look at Powerful Blood and stuff like that, even the Powerful Venom sacks, which are typically one of the cheapest ones, they actually are quite expensive, and even the Powerful Blood are like 30. We had, back in the old days, we had sometimes 40 silver for Powerful Blood. That is pricey, and we are getting back there. That's quite crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, as Snowbleach says it, yeah. People don't see how good even the old maps are for farming. And especially, or if you have the correct reward track, or how it's called, map track, where you get like the good materials from doing events, it's quite powerful to farm as well. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I feel that Thief is still in lower tiers of the beloved class. Spectre feels clunky with animations. I mean Thief, and I've watched all your tier videos and thinking on either getting good at Thief or ditching the class and swapping to Necromancer. So I personally think if you put in the effort to learn Thief, I think it's worth your time. I think Thief, especially in PvE, is very underrated. It's a very, very good class. And if you don't like Spectre, that's fine. That just locks you in not playing full support builds, because Spectre is the only full support build that you really want to play on Thief. But if you don't like Spectre, that's fine. That's just your opinion. That's how it is. Then you should play something that you actually enjoy playing. Ooh, they got a big spike on us. That's not good. But yeah, I personally really believe that like Thief is underrated, and it's not necessarily it's not necessarily true, or like for a good reason. Yeah, I think Thief is underrated and people should play it more often because it's actually a good class. But if it doesn't vibe with you after maining it, that's completely fine as well. You know, I do that all the time. You know, I started playing with one of my first mains was a warrior. Yeah. And at some point I just didn't really enjoy playing warrior anymore. Oh my god, they got us like really hard. Then I just swapped and played a different class and the game became way more fun to me again. So if that's the case for you, that your main class is not really interesting anymore, just play a different one and maybe you have a lot of fun playing the class again. At least for me, that was the case. For me, that was the case, yeah. No, our leader left. No. That's not good. Do you maybe know how to change weapon glove from the fractal legendary gloves? So if you want to change this, you not only have to have the legendary gloves, obviously, but you also, where is it? I don't even have it here for this armor class. But if you also need to have, and that's the sad part, you also need to have those, how is it called? Like infusions that you need to equip. And those infusions you get for farming quick play, fractal quick play. And show you. They're for fractal quick play. Where is it? Here. Fractal quick play. You get those fractal line dust, and this fractal line dust will be used towards your progress of getting those infusion items that you want to get. Where is it? I have it somewhere. Let me showcase. Maybe. There. Fractal line sparks, and those you will get every, I don't know, 100 quick plays or something like that, and then you can exchange those fractal line sparks for an infusion of your colors that you like. Yeah. So this is a bit of a, I wouldn't say convoluted, but a not as easy to understand system, but that changes the color of your infusion of the legendary fractal gloves. If you get the fractal line sparks and then go to the mist stranger where you talk to them and then you get the specific color that you want. So hopefully that's helping. Yeah. A bit off topic, but on current subject here. But what do you mean with waiting and opening loot every 3rd month? So this the month here doesn't really matter. So the point that I try to make here is that you should save up, stockpile a lot of the materials and a lot of the for example, here I get a lot of the crafting material cover, enchanted weapon, treasure boxes, and all that stuff that I get from my World vs. World reward track here, yeah? And you should not always instantly open them. That's the point that I wanted to make here. You should not instantly open them and instead put them in the bank, for example, like I do, and then open them all in bulk, so all at once. Because then you can not only open them very fast, but most importantly, you can also, because they are affected by Magic Find, you can actually go to the Magic Find cap for like half an hour, open all the boxes, get the most loot and the best loot possible out of the boxes because of the high magic find. And then you can stockpile them for the next half a year or something, or 3 months, whatever you want, and open them with a lot of magic find back then again. So you don't really want to open them with low magic find because they are actually increasing quite a bit in value if you have more magic find. That's the whole argument. Yeah. So it's not about 3 months. It's just about you should open it with 750 magic find, and it's more worth it, in my opinion, if you like wait long enough that it makes sense. That is the whole idea here. Hopefully now it's clearer, because it's obviously, yeah, I understand that 3 months is like out of the blue, but I just wanted to mention a number where it makes sense that you open it. If telling you open it once a year, a lot of people will say, what? I might not even play in a year again. That's why I said 3 months. But the number here doesn't really matter. Hopefully it makes sense now. Yeah. I had no ideas. These were magic find too. Same with the Castora caches. So in general, all of the reward track cache boxes that you get are affected by magic find. Just the ones that you get from PvE have specifically mentioned it. Yeah, some of the PvE ones, like the Heart of Thorns ones, they specifically mention it. They are affected, but the PvP reward track ones and the World vs. World reward track ones, they are always affected. That's why they don't specifically mention it, because they always are affected. That's just how it is since the beginning of reward tracks came out in competitive modes. Yeah. The amount of loosened mode you need for the legendary relic is criminal. Yeah, that is one of the only exceptions where I would say that the economist or the person that actually balances the numbers or thought about the economy of Guild Wars 2 was asleep. Because we always knew that loosened modes were generated in a way that is quite predictable with the amount of drops of unified gear. And we know when it came out, the legendary relic, we had a huge overflow of loosened modes. But we knew as well that the amount of loosened modes generated is lower per day than the ones that are actually consumed by people making legendary relics. So it will just drain the economy over time. And we are now in a spot where it's way, way too expensive in a lot of cases. And I'm not saying that it's not good that the legendary is expensive. I'm saying the legendary should be not getting more expensive by the minute. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I think like the legendary relic and the mode situation is quite concerning. Yes, it definitely is. I hope they address it at some point. Maybe introduce more loosened mode farms. They did it a little bit with the Wizard's Vault and the, how is it even called? Like the loosened crystal vault back. Yeah, they did it a little bit, but in my opinion, not even close to enough. Yeah. Welcome, Fremen. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, the Mist Ranger has moved, but it's still possible. You can still do it. You can still do it. Can I actually solo this tower? I might actually be able to do so. But first, Candy Corn Gobbler. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, can understand that you want to open the boxes and you have to restrict yourself to not do so, but I personally think it's extremely valuable if you open them at bulk. That is the most important thing. Thanks, Saint. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the Prime. Hope you're enjoying the stream still. Yeah, but I agree with you. I really know it's really annoying as a player. You want to open the loot, you want to get your loot now, but I personally think it's definitely worth it. If you can wait, it's big value. Big value. Yeah, it's quite weird that they specifically don't mention that the chests are not affected by magic find, but I personally think it's actually, yeah, if you know it, you know it. Like PvP chests are specifically always affected by magic find. Of course, chests that you actually like choose rewards from are not affected. So if you choose the Castora reward box, it doesn't give you more loot because of high magic find. It's just the chests that actually have random loot in it. That hopefully that makes sense, the explanation here. Yeah. Speaking of magic find, it's the Essence of Light not maxed out or saving them for crafting gear. So, oh my god, they are coming. No, they are coming. Jukes? Jukes? No. Hiding in the bushes? Asura paying off? Sneaky, sneaky? No, they came here. Oh my god, how many people are here? Too many, apparently. Holy moly, how many are there? Like, at least 10. So sad. Yeah, okay, so back to the questions. Back to the questions. Yeah, so I would say, in general, Magic Find, getting it up to 300 for account, that's the cap, is good, but not at all costs. So I think getting the legendary Essence of Luck should not be a priority, I would say. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. Yeah, the legendary relic is like really sad because a lot of people like myself got it for free and a lot of people now have to craft it for very expensive. That's a bit of a discrepancy. I get that, yeah. How about unidentified gear? Unidentified gear is not affected by Magic Find. In general, almost nothing in PvE that you get is affected by Magic Find, with one big exception, and the big exception is direct loot from enemies. So if you kill, for example, this walk, Magic Find affects what or how high the quality of the loot that you get is. Anything that is in your inventory and that you open out of your inventory is not affected by Magic Find, with the exception of the things that specifically mention it in PvE or PvP and World vs. World reward tracks. That's pretty much covered, yeah. Yeah, the game's inventory system is a bit like not for everybody, or is like very like intricate, yeah, and like it took years to master it for me, but now I can answer all your questions hopefully about it. Yeah, that's one of the main things that I invested time in this game, learning and going deep with the inventory. Yeah. Yeah. Glad you liked the PvP video. Was a lot of work. Yeah, the PvP gold video. Yeah, glad you like it. Coming back to Thief class, what is the best place to learn rotations that get into the class more? I saw there's a new anti-gravy spec for Thief that looks kind of fun to play with all the RNG stuff. Snowcross or Meta Battle? Snowcross is by far the best for learning the rotations in PvE. Yeah, go to Snowcross for sure. I would personally say that it's not perfect how they showcase and, so to say, tell you the rotation, but at least they have the perfect rotation written there. So that is, if you want to watch like a specific YouTube video, you can find some builds, not all of them, but like a couple of builds or a lot of builds on my YouTube channel as well. Then you can watch my rotation and like stuff like that on, oh my god, what is that? Condi Chrono. It's annoying. Condition Chronomancer. Okay, we invuln that. That's the lead skill. I think we can kill this guy. Actually, looking quite promising. God, Condis, they keep ticking. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. Like Condi Chronomancer, not good fight for me here. But yeah, I think like Snowcross by far the best to learn rotations. Or my YouTube videos, of course. You can also use my website to find the videos that you're looking for. Is there a template of what is affected and what to save? No, sadly not. Sadly not. Nice. Congrats for the Legendary Relic. Very good. Darkest Night, welcome. Welcome to the club. Legendary Relic is a good legendary to have. Wait for the cap from Magic Find is 300. So the Magic Find cap that you can get passively for your account is 300. Yeah, so you see here I have 300 plus the ones that I get from achievement points. So I have 300 from luck plus 26, and this is forever there. Whenever I create a new character, whatever I do, it has 326 luck, well, Magic Find passively all the time. And that will not increase only if I increase my achievement points. However, by using, for example, Magic Find boosters, using like the Festival Goblin, no, the where is it? celebration booster, those increase the magic find, and then you can look it up here and you can see I have 541 magic find. So you can increase it with boosters and stuff like that. And then the cap, the absolute hard cap is 750. If you can go higher, but it will not affect your loot anymore. 750 is the highest possible one. Yeah. Yeah, Iscarel is extremely good. Good point here by Scarlet. Iscarel's channel is extremely good, especially for Antiquary. He has incredibly good builds and videos about it, very in-depth guides. So if you want to learn Antiquary and rotations of that, check out Iscarel's channel. Good point, good point. Yeah, Condi Chrono is really rare, but against my build with not that many Condi cleanses, it's very annoying to deal. Very, very annoying. Yeah. Yeah, so should I keep using luck to increase my magic find or store it for crafting purposes? I would say I would use it, personally. I think saving it for crafting purposes is in 99% of the cases a waste, because luck will increase the loot that you get, the gold that you get, not the amount, but the quality of loot that you get. So in my opinion, it's worth it to spend all the luck if you don't have 300 cap yet. That is my opinion. But if you, for example, know that you will craft a rune that needs luck, for example, I think rune of like Sigil of Luck needs luck, obviously, but also I think Sigil of Fireworks might also need some, or Relic of Fireworks rather, need also some luck. So if you want to craft this specific item yourself and you already know it, then you of course save it. But in 99% of the cases, I think Magic Find is more worth it for you. Yeah. Because it will affect your loot that you get forever more. Yeah. So if you play in 10 years Guild Wars 2, you will still get better luck, or better luck of getting better loot drops. Yeah. Magic Find is not affected. Wrong. Magic Find does not affect Black Lion chests. That would be awesome, but it's not the case. Black Lion chests have the hard-coded drop rates of those percentages that you can see here. It's hard-coded, so it cannot affect it anyway. So I would personally save every single reward chest from PvP and World vs. World that you get and open them in a bulk. There is not a single one that is specifically not affected, so I would just save all of them. And when you have them, like I do here, I stack them up, and if I have like huge amount of them lying around, so for example, here I'm having like almost approaching, some of them having even over 250 stacks. So at some point I will open that if my inventory here or my bank slot is too full. But I would say save all of them. You don't need to specifically look at which one of them, save all of them, and you will probably thank me later. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you need more luck, you can always salvage green gear. So opening the pieces of unified gear and salvaging it will give you luck. So for example, if I open that and then salvage my green gear here, I will get some luck. Yeah, that's why I have almost all my characters' luck stored here at the bottom, because whenever you salvage something green, you get luck. Yeah. For those still in the void, the bright side is you can get lucky for 5x and then you're done. You can sell those, loosen modes for decent money now. Yeah, that is true. You can get lucky and get some nice additional drops from the boxes that you can purchase from Blizzard's World. But I think the best way of getting loosened mode is opening ununified gear and salvaging it. But yeah, it's always costly. Like getting the legendary relic is always costly. That's just how it is. Yeah. Yeah, you can save, maybe, if you want to, you can save the exotic essences of luck, maybe, because those are a bit rarer, of course, because they're exotic. But you can craft them from your normal luck, so you can go to Artificer and then you can craft it, so upgrade it. So go from this version, from the fine ones to the masterworks to the rare ones, and then to exotic. You can do that if you really need exotic luck, but yeah, either way, saving or keeping is up to you. I would say, personally, I would open it and use it because it's probably worth it in the long run to get more quality loot, but maybe that's just me. Yeah. I'm on 222 Magic Find now. The increase at that point is by ton of S's is super slim. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's exponential. So in the beginning, it's really, really fast, and the last few take forever. Yeah. It takes very long. That is true, that is true. I honestly wish they would remake the way Zergs works. The mechanics of choo-choo trains are so weird to look at. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, but to be honest, I don't see it changing. I understand your criticism, but that has been the case for the last 13 years. So I'm not sure if they actually change it ever. It's like, it's so ingrained in the identity of Guild Wars 2 World versus World, or maybe even Guild Wars 2 as a whole. I don't know if they ever change how Zergs interact with each other and people play. Maybe if they make some drastic changes to balance, but I have to be honest, I don't see it. I don't really see it. Yeah, that's just the sad truth, but I mean, I think it also had its bright sides. I think it's a very unique playstyle and very fun to play. For me personally, it's fun. I have a lot of fun playing Zergs, in Zergs rather, but it's not for everybody. I can see that for sure. I know it's a weird question, but what class would you recommend for a beginner trying to get into roaming? I think you should choose a class that you are actually comfortable with. So you played already another game mode. Typically you played PvE. If you are comfortable with your class in PvE, then, and you would like to play it more, then play that class. Tell me what class that is, and I can tell you a specific build. But in general, I would say it does not really matter. Every class has a really good roaming build, and you should just stick with the class that you actually enjoy the most. If you have absolutely no preference, I would say probably one of the best roaming builds that you can start out with is probably like maybe Celestial Harbinger or something like that, because it's very straightforward. But it's just my opinion, you know, or maybe some kind of Dagger Elementalist if you like Elementalist. But it's really like up to you. I think every single class has really, really good roaming builds. Like there is not a single class that I would say is bad in roaming. You just need to have like a good build for it. Yeah. So just choose the class that you like, and then I can give you an example of a good build for it. Could you briefly explain what luck is for? I always just use it when I got it. No, you should not save it. So if you're a new player and listening to this, you should not save your luck. So luck is used pretty much exclusively. Yeah, you can use it for some crafting, but most of the time you need it to level up your Magic Find. So if you consume your luck, you get more Magic Find, which increases the loot that enemies drop. So in the end, you want to open or consume the luck to get more Magic Find. So for a new player, always consume it. It's probably the best bet that you can get. Yeah. Yeah, I will definitely try to revisit Magic Find, because I know it's for new players a bit of a confusing topic. I will try to revisit it and make a specific guide about luck and Magic Find and how to min-max and stuff like that. The problem is it's a lot of effort. You know, there are a lot of numbers to crunch. There is a lot of stuff to explain well and concisely so that people can follow it without having to listen to 50 minutes of explanation. So I definitely try to do that, but I will see how fast I can get it done. Yeah. My friend who is big into WoW got immediately weirded out by it and was like, nope, World versus World is not for me. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's really interesting that people have so like different opinions about it. Some people say it's the best game or whatever. Some people say it's the worst. Never play it again. I can understand it. Some people, like Snowbleach mentioned here, want to decrease the numbers of players that can fight each other. So it's not 50 or even like 70 versus 70 in some cases. More like 20 versus 20. Yeah, I mean, that is okay as well, I guess. I am not sure if they ever do it, though. I think Guild Wars 2 is it's already an old game. And I think at this point, making drastic changes like that, I'm not sure if it would improve the game. You know, if you decide to make a game with like 50 versus 50 and stuff like that, then I think you should not change this drastically 10 years in the game. I think that's, I don't know, it's just too late at this point. Maybe in a new game, but not in Guild Wars 2 anymore. Maybe make smaller maps, like an additional map that is a bit smaller. Maybe that could be more like it, to be honest. That could be more like it. But that's pretty much the only way that I see is like realistic. Can we get the kill here? No, that was so close. Sad. Welcome, Matigam. Welcome, welcome. I'm good. How are you? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Great low intensity tier list. Was a great video. I have a question. I'm looking at foods. What's a good but cheaper power food build choice and a good but cheaper condi build choice? So far, I'm using avocado smoothie for power and koi cakes for condi. So koi cakes is already one of the best ones. So you already have the best choice in terms of food, in my opinion. For condition builds, like, it's one of the best ones. Oh my god. How much damage was that? That's insane. Did you see? I just get like 10k or something hit me there. Yeah, you should not like read chat and answer questions there. Sadly, I cannot see it like in PvP. I would really like to see that was like one hit or something that took like 10k of my health away. That's crazy. Okay, so, and for power foods, I think the best cheap alternative is plates of Orient steak frites. It's not as good as the koi cakes because it gives you defensive stats, being vitality, but it gives you 100 power. So you lose a little bit of ferocity and it gives you some defenses. So I think that's a decent like middle ground because it's really cheap. It's like 4 silver or like 5 silver or something. So that's really cheap as well. If you want to get the like, because the problem is if you want to get the, so to say, not level 80 version, it's called Butternush something. The not level 80 version here, like with, where is it? This one is the level 80 version and it's really expensive. 50 silver, you don't want to have that. And then you have the not level 80 version, the level 70 version here, which would be the downgrade, which is exactly like koi cakes equivalent. But this one is like still 30 silver. So I would not recommend going for that food specifically. That's why I would rather go for plates of Orient steak frites. That's in my opinion the best option. It's just a good option for casual gameplay that increases your damage by quite a bit, but not like the absolute best, because I can understand that you don't want to run like the 50 silver foods. That is completely fine. So hopefully that answers your question, Magigon. New player but reach 1000 gold through ecto gambling. What should be done with the gold as a new player? So I have a video perfectly for you about that. I have a video where I talk about what you should focus on after reaching level 80, and then you can watch that video and see what, so to say, the best thing is to spend your gold on. But personally, if you want my answer that is not scripted here, I think probably one of the best ways to get like value from that is getting your ascended gear, stuff like that, maybe getting some account upgrades like a bigger bank or bigger material storage or something like that. That is probably one of the best bets. But if you want, you can also go, of course, for legendaries, but I personally would say it's probably better to go for stuff that is valuable for almost all characters, being like the, for example, material storage, bank slots and stuff like that. But yeah, you can watch my tier list on my YouTube channel about what to do after reaching level 80, and that should give you all the answers you need. Yes, I have crafted the legendary Aqua Breeder. I have all the legendaries in the game. No, it's fine, it's fine. You know, I'm streaming not to actually win 101s. I'm streaming to have a fun time and answer some questions here on stream. So don't worry if I die because of reading your question. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Yes, that's true. I could read the incoming damage. Maybe it's still there. I always forget that I have a perfect like log for that. But I'm not sure if it's still like possible. Come on, let me move. So, is it up there? Well of Suffering, no. What was it? What was it? 5k Executioner's Sight, that's pretty good, but I think it was something higher than that. Maybe it was just the Executioner's Sight that hit me for 5k, but I thought it was more. No, it's going too fast. I cannot keep up with it. That's okay. But something very, very hard hit me. That is for sure. This spec is Luminary. I'm playing Luminary right now, and before I was playing Willbender for roaming, but that is currently, I'm playing support Luminary in a Cirque. It's just a very, very good pick, a lot of stability uptime, you can see the boon output. It's just very solid. And it's a very, like, I can answer and read chat while so to say, playing it. That's the main reason why I play it. If I play a very squishy DPS build, if I look for 1 second to chat, I might die. That might be the case here as well, but it's less likely. That's why I'm playing it here on stream. Yeah, I'm happy to help. Happy to help here. Always happy to help. I feel like for single target reactive healing, to do anything, you'd need an interface designed for it. Yeah, exactly. I think like single target healing in Guild Wars 2 is... I'm not saying that Spectre is doing a bad job at trying to do single target healing, but I think like it's just not made for it. Guild Wars 2 needed a completely different UI to make single target healing very, very good, and I think that's very unrealistic that they will change the UI for that. I think the UI is pretty engraved in the game, and I to be honest, I have to say, like, single target healing in Guild Wars 2 is just not how it's designed. Like, we have so much AoE stuff. I think single target healing is just never a good solution for this specific game. I think they should have changed maybe in the beginning of the game, but now it's too late. The same as we mentioned earlier with boons, with like gear stats. I think it's very unrealistic that they made some really crazy changes like that. That's my prediction here. Is there any guide for aquatic fighting? No. Like, aquatic fighting is like so niche in Guild Wars 2 that in a lot of cases I would say just equip one underwater weapon. Typically your class has 2 that you have access to. Some classes like Elementalist only have 1, and then you are good to go and try to make a somewhat concise traits and utility skills that you equip something that makes sense, but it doesn't really, it's not something that I would say is like, okay, you have to run this build and that build to actually succeed. Underwater combat is so niche in Guild Wars 2, and most of it is actually also very easy, that I think it doesn't make sense to make guides about it. Sadly. It would be very fun to theory craft, but it's just not very, like, very realistic that people actually care or that it matters. Yeah. If you have every single legendary game, what are your personal goals in Guild Wars 2 currently? I just want to have fun. I want to make content for you and talk about the game, get more new players in the game, and hopefully while having fun and playing it. That's really, I don't have any goals in Guild Wars 2 right now. I think the only real goal in the game that I want is like the permanent like thing from World vs. World that gives me like how is it called? Infinite utility and food primers. That's the only thing that I'm farming for right now, but it's just something passive. Yeah. How do storage tunes work? Isn't logging in a character just to move something back to bank into another character too much work for things like materials? So I think it depends what you mean with work. So for example, if I have a full character full of like stuff, then I think it's annoying to move it, yeah. But I think I always move stuff, for example, if I have whatever, you know, I have something like what is a good example? I don't know. I have a stack of bags of gear here. This is, for example, a good thing here. I have this stack bags of gear. If I want to save it, then I will just put it on the bank, like with my infinite permanent bank access, and then put it on another character if I have a character for that. That's why I have 70 characters. But some people are annoyed by swapping characters to just store something. I can get that. I personally would say it's worth it for me so that my inventory doesn't clutter up and I have always like a lot of slots, over 150 per character, at least 3 that I play. I like that, but I can understand that it's too annoying for you or that you are too lazy to do it. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, the Legendary Spear can be used on land and underwater for some classes. Elementalist, for example, does not have access to Spear underwater. It is just a trident. Funnily enough, Elementalists can only use, for example, the spear on land, but cannot use the spear underwater. That's just how it is. So yeah, spear would be a good choice for a lot of classes like Guardian, Warrior and stuff like that, because they can use it on both, but Elementalist cannot. Yeah. A question I've been asking myself, why are Celestial solo builds, basically Condi builds, more tanky, less damage? Shouldn't power builds be better in open world? So in easy open world fights, you're correct. In easy open world fights, power builds are better because they are dealing the damage front-loaded, so you will just get the damage done and the fight is over before you would be done with a Celestial build. Yes, that is true. But if you're playing in a hard encounter, like you get a lot of damage, you need some healing power and stuff like that, then it's better to have some defensive stats in the kit as well, and then the short burst that you have with a power build is not important, because if the fight is 10 minutes, then Condi builds can take and maybe make even more damage in the long run. So yeah, I would say it depends on the playstyle and the stuff that you want to tackle with. Yeah. Welcome, Frockenbock. Welcome. I have Fractal God. I got it like years ago at this point. Yeah. It's like, for me, it's Guild Wars always comes in phases, you know. Sometimes I really enjoy playing PvE, sometimes I really enjoy playing PvP. I just play what I like. And there was a time where I played Fractals every day. Not anymore. It's just like, at some point, you have to make some decisions and choose what you want to play. You cannot play everything all the time. Just don't have the time for that, obviously. So currently, I play a bit of World vs. World every day. Any advice for squad leading new players through raids? I'm about to take my guild through Envoy. So I would say be patient, of course. And the most important part is that if you want to get a lot of new players into raids, you should probably also try to succeed. That might be an obvious tip, but for example, if you try to get, like, you are the only experienced players with raids, and you get 9 completely new players into raids, I think one of the best tips I can give you is try to get 1, 3, maybe 5, maybe that's already a bit much, 5 tries at a boss before you actually kill it. Yeah. So never go on a single boss over like 5 times in a single try, so to say, because that makes it so that it's very frustrating for the new players. You should at some point try to actually get the players the kill. That's what I learned for doing some raid trainings myself. And that's the best way to do that, is that you have like 2, 3 players that actually are experienced, that can fill some roles of that is necessary. So for example, a healer or a tank or something like that. And then you get like a couple of DPS players that are new. And then you can actually get a very smooth way of learning the raids for them. That's my best tip that I can give you. The infinite storage access changes everything. Yeah, exactly. If you don't do that, if you don't have the infinite permanent bank access, then I'm with you. Then I wouldn't care. Then I would not really use my characters as storage all the time, because then it's really, really annoying to deal with them. Yes, I agree. But for me, that is probably the best Blackline item that you can get, the permanent bank access contract. It's very expensive. It costs like 4 to 6k gold or something. It always changes a bit. But let's check. Yeah, 6k almost. It's really expensive, but it's very, very valuable to me. It's one of the best items that you can get, in my opinion, in this game. At least if you play multiple characters. And even if you only play one character, you can use it how often you want, and you get, like, so to say, permanent access to your bank, and therefore have like increased your inventory in a way, the size quite drastically. It's really good. So, what's the best class for DPS on Stealth Bomb Squad? It depends a bit on your squad composition. All classes can have insane burst. I would personally say like maybe Amalgam. Like if you combine a lot of Amalgams together, it's pretty good. But you can also have Power Berserker is extremely strong burst. And even like Power Dragon Hunter has extremely strong burst. So those would be my top choices. But there are so many. Power Conduit is also extremely bursty. Yeah, choose what you like out of them. Yeah. For power, I read that Demolisher is extremely good, but somehow it's only available by stat selectable gear. Yeah, Demolisher is a gear stat that was introduced into Guild Wars 2 very, very late. So it's a very weird thing to get. It's not very accessible for a new player. You can get it very fast from playing World vs. World, but if you don't play World vs. World, it's pretty much like you cannot really get it other than from stat selectable pieces. So it's a bit weird, yeah. I would definitely say Demolisher is a really good stat, specifically for World vs. World and in roaming, for example, but not the easiest to get for players that don't play World vs. World, yeah. What would you recommend if you want to get your ascended weapons as soon as possible? I got from the Wizard's Vault, but they need the second weapon. So if you got the one from Wizard's Vault, I think the best way of getting another one would probably be, if you like to play raids, then purchasing them with magnetite shards, so the raid currency. That's probably the fastest way because you can get a lot of them. You can actually essentially get it like in the first week. Because the cap is now 800 magnetite shards. It's really easy. You can do the easy raid encounters and you will have a very, very, so to say, fast ascended weapon. If you don't like to do raids, you can play fractals, but it's not really recommended in my opinion. It's not the best way of doing that. What else? What else? Yeah, I think raids is probably the fastest way. I don't see a way that is actually faster. Maybe if you grind a lot of PvP, you can also purchase from PvP or World vs. World ascended weapons. But World vs. World is definitely slower and PvP is... Yeah, I mean, you have to play a lot of PvP to get that. So I personally would say the fastest is raids, typically. Yeah. What first elite spec to choose for Elementalist? Choose the one that you like. They're all really good. Like, I think Tempest is the easiest to get into, but choose the one that you like. Yeah. Exactly. You should play games for fun. That is true. That is very true. I have another question. What cheap food should I use to get concentration and healing? So the cheapest food that gives you healing is like here, Delicious Rice Boys. They don't have concentration, but they give outgoing healing modifier, which is typically a lot more value in Zergs, typically, for example. If you want to get the concentration as well, there is not a perfect food. As I would say, the Ascended food is the by far best option, because the Ascended food gives you not only healing and concentration, but also the outgoing healing increase. So it's like upgraded Delicious Rice Boys. But I would say Delicious Rice Boys is probably your very, very cheap option. Thanks a lot for the sub, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the Prime, Emk. Thanks a lot, hope you're enjoying the stream. But yeah, I would say like Delicious Rice Balls is the go-to option, even though they don't give concentration. I would combine that with, for example, peppermint oils, then you get concentration as well. Or of course you go full healing outgoing effectiveness with bountiful maintenance oils. Yeah. Is there a way to indirectly convert gold to ascended weapons? Yeah, I mean, you can craft it. That would be the direct way, but other than that, not really. Like, indirectly, you could argue that, for example, you could go and get some boosters that increase your magic find, for example, and then you can, if you're lucky, from the reward tracks from PvP and World vs. World, those chests have a chance of getting ascended gear out of that. So if you have full magic find, that will actually increase the chances of getting you an ascended weapon. So that's a very indirect way of increasing with gold the chance of getting ascended weapon. But it's like, come on, how likely is that this will happen? That you get it in a few tries. I would say if I open 10 reward tracks, I think I get like 1 or 2 ascended weapons out of it. But you know, that is like 10 reward tracks. That's effectively quite a bit of time played the game. So is it really like investing gold to get the weapon? I don't know. But it's an indirect way for sure. Yeah. Would you recommend a Condi or Power Virtuoso as a PvE DPS build? I personally like Power better because Power is just more value in a lot of cases. But if you need a really defensive DPS build, Condi is the way to go. Condi Virtuoso is one of the most defensive builds in existence in PvE because it has self-healing, it has invulnerability, it's just really, really strong. But the damage output is not as high as Power. So I personally like to recommend Power Virtuoso more. Yeah. Condi Virtuoso is quite good on 98 and 99 CM. It's not the best build there, but it's decent. Yeah, it's one of the better builds to choose because it has range, it has healing. It's just really good in those split phases. So I personally would say if you play Mesmer, it's one of the best builds that you can play in 99 CM, for example. It's not the best, it's one of the best though. Yeah. Good point by chat here. You can use the Coral quests currently. That is a really good way of getting the Ascended, where is it? Is it somewhere here? The Ascended Weapons, yeah. There is currently a quest that you can buy. I think it's 1000 Astral Acclaim here. Exactly, I already bought it. 1000 Astral Acclaim. And it gives you 2 Ascended Weapons. So it's really valuable. It takes like maximum an hour to do the quest, and then you get two ascended weapons that actually look good. Yeah, it's a staff and a sword. So it's not every weapon, but if you use a staff or a sword, it actually gives you for 1000 astral acclaim a decently fast ascended weapon. Yeah, good point, good point. Yeah, for ascended rings, tier 4 fractals are pretty good, but the problem is this is only for rings. So if you want to, for example, get ascended weapons from fractals, that's a bit more annoying. And the important part for rings is that you cannot get, for example, Viper rings. So it's a bit more annoying. You get ascended Berserker rings very fast, but if you want to get Viper rings or Harrier rings, so the expansion, so to say, expansion stats, not the core game stats, then the rings from fractals are a bit more annoying. Yeah. I'm a new player and I'm trying to get into raids, but I have no group, no guild, no friends in the game. Can I start with quick raids? Yes, I would recommend starting with quick play raids. They are really, really good, really easy to get into. There might be a little of like confusion because there are a lot of new players in them, but I personally would say it's a good way to get your feet wet, so to say, because you just slowly learn more about the encounters, slowly get better at the game, and that is one of the best ways to experience to get slowly into raids. And other than that, I can recommend you, if you want to go faster than that, I would recommend going to a raid training Discord. Yeah, joining a Discord server and then joining raid trainings there. So for example, joining raid training initiative, Crossroads Inn. They have so many really good training groups, and you can just join them and you will have a very easy time to get into raids. That's my recommendation. No, English is not my native language. I'm from Germany, so my native language is German. That's why some of my pronunciation is a bit off. I hope you are not too bothered by it, but I'm trying my best. Yeah. But yeah, hope you're enjoying the stream. If you want more of it, be sure to follow. We have more coming up. I'm actually going more try hard in streams now, and we also have a lot of content on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen it yet. For new players and veterans alike, daily uploads. Yeah. So let's see what we can do in this fight. I think that's a pretty even fight. Let's push. Oh my god, the commander is like crazy. Just pushing through here. We already lost half our squad. That's not gonna work. We have to pull out here. It's not gonna work. Sad. Very sad. What can you do? Exactly. A German. Yeah, I was actually... That is a good question here in chat. In German, I will translate here by Beerdeck. The question is, when is the first German stream happening? And the question is, I know that a lot of players right now are Germans that are watching my stream, or would understand German at least. But I really noticed that on my YouTube channel, in my streams in the evening, that there are a lot of other players that I can help if I don't speak German. And I think a lot of players that are German and play Guild Wars 2 actually understand the game if I talk about it in English as well. So I personally think I might do a German stream at some point, but I think it's more valuable for the community if I stream in English so more people understand it. I think it's just Guild Wars 2 is not big enough on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that in social media that a full German stream is actually valuable for the community. I would personally say. I think I would exclude a lot of players for no particular reason by doing a German streaming only. And I think my community is also like not fully German, so it would not really make sense for me personally either. I think so. We will see, but for now, nothing is planned. Yeah. Do you have any already published video regarding mastery points? I'm doing Living World Season 2 as my furthest story content so far, but I'm maxing my experience in all Coteria masteries. So the thing is, I have a guide that tells you what masteries you should get after one another if you want to optimize it. So for example, that you should start with auto loot mastery here, and that you should then go, for example, and get gliding. Just the rough, like, most important masteries that you should get. But I don't have a guide that specifically tells you what is the fastest mastery point to get or what is the best achievement to grind first. because this is very player dependent, and I don't know if a guide would make a lot of sense. Some people like to do the story, so the fastest way is doing the story for them. Some people really hate the story and would rather do like an achievement where you have to log in 10 days in a row and do some kind of meta. Sure, it heavily depends what kind of player you are. So I don't have a guide, and I'm not sure if that would make a lot of sense to do right now. Maybe in the future though. No, I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense. I know it is a, so to say, fun question to ask, but I think it makes sense because I think there is not a lot of German content about Guild Wars 2, so it's not necessarily only a fun question. I just think it's more value to talk in English. Yeah. You did a great job learning the language. Did you have a tutor or did you study it on your own? I'm trying to learn it on my own with the help of movies, games, and stuff. Yeah, I think for me personally, learning English started in school, and I learned it in school a bit, but I really started learning English when I went and did more online stuff. Yeah, so I played games, I watched movies, and for example, the first year I played Guild Wars, I played it in like German, like the settings language was German, and then I changed it to English, and that helped so much because you learn so much by consistently consuming content in English, and you get better at it. It's just slowly over time, you know. Nowadays I mostly even think in English. It's crazy. It's just like you have to be patient, and it started in school, yes, but it's not necessarily where I got my big chunk of knowledge, I would say. So yeah, mostly online and self-taught in that way, but like listening to others, listening to streamers, listening to YouTube videos, listening to movies, stuff like that, for sure. That helps. And I would say in the beginning, it helps a lot if you listen to videos and movies and stuff with subtitles on, if they have it, because that can help you to get the not only the gist of what they are saying, but also the actual words and stuff, so that if you missed something because it was too fast or it was a bit mumbled or whatever, you can still get most of the words. I would say subtitles can help you a bit there. Yeah. Thank you for the guide, Syrma. As a new player, I really appreciate your work. Thanks for the kind words, Shadens. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, hopefully more to come. I want to get more stuff for new players and also veterans out that is actually not only entertaining to watch, but also helpful. That's my big goal, not only in my YouTube like videos, but also in my streams. And I want to keep going, yeah, for sure. And thanks for the kind words. That's definitely what helps me keep going, you know. I get a lot of, as a YouTuber, a lot of offensive comments or negative comments, but those comments, like your comment right now, those make my day, and I actually am way more positive about what I'm doing. So thanks for that. I'm looking forward to the German stream. As an Ausländer in Germany, I need to practice my German in a pleasant way with games. Yeah, I mean, that would be very fun, you know, doing a German stream, like a PvP stream, only in German. You know, I can only talk German during a PvP stream, and I have to be very, so to say, not like flaming people, but I should probably like be like very like energetic about it, because that's the most exciting. What people want to see is an energetic German talking a very like brisk like language. Maybe that will be an exciting stream at some point. But you know, if you haven't noticed, I'm a rather chill guy. You know, I might lose a match, I might win a match. I don't really like flame anybody, or am like getting too, I don't know, negative about it. So yeah, it's always about like I'm trying to be very positive about it. So probably not the angry German stream that some people want. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Shadens. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the tier 1. Thanks a lot for the support. Hope you're enjoying the stream as well, not only my videos. I don't read many comments on videos, but who the hell is bad mouthing to you? You're incredibly kind and straightforward person. Whoever is saying negative things can be counseled. Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is, you are all very, very nice people here in chat. You know, I noticed that, and you are just very nice people in general. The problem is, there are always some negative people in the internet as well. And that does not necessarily mean they have an argument, but sometimes they are just offensive for no particular reason. So if I do a tier list, just one example, because you bring it up here. I do a tier list and I mention like 3 times in the beginning, I mention it in a disclaimer. I mention it somewhere in the middle and I mention it at the end. That the tier list is my opinion, this is subjective, and I want to give you my arguments why I think about it, like something in a specific way. But there are still people in the comments that tell me that my opinions not only is like shit, but also that I'm just stupid for even mentioning this opinion. And at some point you get used to that as a YouTuber, because there are always some weird people in the internet and you get to ignore them. But it's just the fact that they are there. Even if they might not have a real point behind their comment, they are still there. And one of the main things that I try to do on my YouTube channel and my Twitch stream is that I don't ban or censor people that are actually just raising their opinion. So if they say your video was bad, I don't ban the YouTube comment because of that, because that's just their so to say opinion. But if someone is like really using gamer language, so to say, then they get banned. That is, so to say, for me, the strict threshold. So just this short excursion there. But yeah, that definitely should explain it a bit. Yeah, definitely Shadens. Definitely makes my day for sure. Your videos are helpful as a returning player, it's been good. I'm currently considering the power chrono you showcased. If my brain can learn Mesmer, I think you should definitely try it. If you are intrigued by power chronomancer, it's extremely good. It's really fun, really strong. I think it's one of my favorite all-time power builds because it's such a fluid rotation, really like fun to play as well. Yeah, definitely give it a try and don't give up, you know. It might not be in the first hour that you learn it perfectly, but don't give up. At some point you will actually understand it and it makes click and you actually get to get top DPS. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Just ignore block. That's how we do it. Yeah. Do you know if there's any good ways to farm materials for gifts items that used to craft legendary armors, like Gift of Fangs and stuff like that? So my tip for that is that you should just farm gold. In Guild Wars 2, that's a very boring answer, but I played the game for long enough to tell you this. If you want to get the Gift of Battle, Gift of Blood that you need to craft legendaries, the best way to get this is farming gold and buying it from the trading post. Yes, this is not a good way in terms of roleplay, I get that, but it's just the best that we can do. Yeah, it's just giving you the fastest access to those gifts. It's sadly the case. Like farming gold in Guild Wars 2 is almost like you can do it almost everywhere. And it's way faster to farm the gold because there are so many gold farms in the game that give you, like, let's say 20 to 40 gold per hour. Whereas in farming the specific materials, like farming the claws or farming the blood, you will need way longer to get the same amount of claws than just farming the gold and then purchasing it from the trading post. Sad answer, but that's the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, volatile magic is a good point. You can convert volatile magic into... You can use the volatile magic from gathering tools or living world maps and stuff like that and convert the volatile magic into trophy shipments. I have a full guide about that on my YouTube channel as well. Where is it? There, volatile magic. And then you convert that into trophy shipments and that gives you the materials as well. But you need the volatile magic for that, obviously. So, yeah, that would be a very good way as well. No, I mean, Canadian bacon, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. You know, I got used to it. So don't worry, don't worry. I'm happy that we have very nice people here in chat. That's good enough. Yeah. Or just play what you like and buy. Exactly. I think that's pretty much what you should do. You should enjoy the game, try to have fun, and you will get some gold doing so, and then invest the gold into materials. That's probably the best way to play Guild Wars 2 is like just play the game mode, the part of the game mode that you enjoy, and you will probably in the long run play the game longer and you will still get the legendary that you are going for. Yeah, that's at least that works for me. Yeah. I'm stuck a little bit in a class swap situation. I started with Ranger and finished main tier story. Then I was somewhat disappointed because most of Ranger build moved away from bows. I will continue in next post. Then I played Mirage through Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. Now I'm trying Renegade and I'm itching to try Elementalist. So I would say almost every player gets to a point in Guild Wars 2 where you try out different classes and you don't know which class you should play more of. So I would say try to find a class that you actually enjoy. But if that's harder said than done, harder done than said, so to say. But I would personally say, if you specifically like bows, one of the best classes for bows is Gale Shot. So the currently newest elite spec for Ranger. That is probably the best class in terms of bows. Other than that, bows are not very that common. There is like a power luminary that loses a bow. There is a condition berserker that uses a bow, but that's pretty much like there are not that many bow builds around, sadly. Yeah. So if you are not locked into bows, that's completely fine. Dragon Hunter uses a bow, that's true. Those like are the pretty much the only ones that use bows consistently. You can use an engineer, but then it's more like a support bow. I'm not sure if you're looking for that kind of gameplay. Yeah, I don't know. I personally would say play the class that you like. If you have no like idea what to do, I personally would say one of the really good choices is probably like Shortbow on Revenant is very good. I like to play it, but Spear is just oftentimes a bit better. I don't know, depends a bit. I would say try all the classes and see what you like, because Guild Wars 2 is very old character friendly. So I have 70 characters, I speak from experience here, but even if you don't have that many, you can play multiple at once, and if you have one that you actually like a lot, you can then invest so much time that you can consider it your main. That's what I would do, yeah. I do daily fractals for gold. It's not that much, but if you don't have much time, yeah, I mean, gold farming with fractals is awesome. Like it's one of the best ways of getting gold in Guild Wars 2, especially if you couldn't do tier 4 fractals and challenge mods. Like especially challenge mods give you a lot of gold, but of course that's more challenging, as the name suggests. So yeah, good way of getting gold for sure. I'm using solo Soul Beast with Shortbow and Dagger Warhorn. I took it from your video you made 10 months ago. Absolutely incredible build. Yeah, glad you like it. It's an old build, but it's still really good. And that's another example of a shortbow build. So if you like bows, that might be one of the best shortbow builds out there, especially if you like solo gameplay. Yep, good point, good point. It's really tanky, really good damage, really good boons. It's just really well rounded. Yeah. What, in your opinion, is the most self-sufficient fractal DPS spec right now? I like to carry random tier 3 and tier 4 pucks. I would say the most self-sufficient one, if you really want to be extremely self-sufficient, would be Power Reaper, because Power Reaper has effectively permanent quickness on its own. Yeah, that's really, really good. If you have somewhat decent support, so you have some perma quickness uptime already, then one of the best ways to have like very self-sufficient gameplay is Power Virtuoso. I played it all the time in pack groups, because Power Virtuoso has evades, condi cleanses, invulnerabilities, range DPS, blocks, CC. You have almost the whole kit as a DPS build. So if you have the boons from your supports, then you don't need much else. So those two would probably be one of the best ones, but there are nowadays so many good builds. It's just my selection. There could be so many more. Hope that answers your question there. Yeah. Welcome Saint on YouTube. Welcome. Yeah, best farm for gold is, for raw gold, might be fractals. That might be true, yeah. For raw gold, at least if you do it every day, it's one of the best ones, yeah, for sure. Yeah, bows in Guild Wars 2 is like, that's why they are not used that often, because they're typically ranged weapons. And ranged weapons in PvE specifically, but also in competitive modes, are not necessarily the meta, because you still like to stick on top of each other. So having a weapon that has more range is not necessarily a big gain, because you still be most of the time in melee range. So yeah, I'm with you there. Bows are fun, but not always the best choice, sadly. It's more like spear is more the go-to option in a lot of cases than bows. Also started unlocking Virtuoso instead of Chronomancer, because I now kind of feel trying a little bit of support. So Virtuoso is really good, but it's not a support. Like Virtuoso is the only Mesmer build that cannot be played as a support. So if you want to be a support, don't choose Virtuoso. But if you want to play a DPS build, that's probably one of the best choices you can make on Mesmer. If you want to be self-sufficient specifically. Yeah. Always happy to help, Gravello. Always happy to help. Heal Scourge is still the ultimate for puck saver for Fractals. I think Heal Scourge is really underrated as a saver if you want to be healer. But if you want to be a DPS player, which I think was the question, then I would recommend something like Power Virtuoso. They are back again. There's always like a squad that gets us in the last few seconds of a capture. It's crazy. Can we win this? Probably not. No. Can't win. Can't win. I love Necromancer and Minions and doing content solo. I'm just wondering which elite spec I should get first, Reaper or Ritualist? That's a tough question. I think Ritualist is really aggressive and really like good if you like minions. I think Reaper overall, however, is more flexible as a like a solo build. Yeah. I think personally Ritualist is really, really strong as a quick DPS solo build. So really, really solid build, but it's a bit more squishy than, for example, a Reaper if you play it well. I personally like Reaper a bit more because I'm not the biggest minion fan, but if you like minions, then I think Ritualist is slightly better because it has like spirits, minions, it's all the same. A lot of stuff, yeah. Both are really good, especially with Spear. Good point, yeah. Let's capture the camp and go to Stone Mist. Black Doctor Healer Scourge is still nice. Yeah, that's true. Good point. If you want to have a min-max build. Oh my god, it was so close. Like a min-max, like DPS healer build, like Plague Doctor, Celestial Mix, or Ritualist even in there. Yeah, it's really good. Like really, really good. Scourge is very underrated. It's not, in my opinion, the best healer specifically for Fractals, but if you want to carry groups that are really like lackluster, then Scourge gets a lot of value because of the barrier, the Condy Cleanse. Just the safety net that you have, for sure. Is Scale Shot a good DPS for raids? Oh yes, it's a really good build. If you like raiding with a ranger, it's one of the best builds because it has good range damage, it has good burst damage. It's just overall a really, really solid pick. So yeah, it's a bit fast paced. So if you don't like that, that might not be the best for you. But I personally think it's extremely valuable if you like playing ranger. Definitely a solid pick. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that goes for almost every class. I really want to stress that here. If you play PvE in Guild Wars 2, it does not really matter which class and even which elite spec you play. Every single elite spec has a top tier build that can be played as DPS build, and most of them even have top tier support builds. So if you enjoy a specific class, a specific build, or a specific elite spec rather, you will have a top tier build to go into raids. So don't stress too much about it. Play the class that you actually enjoy. So is it the green one or is it the purple one? I guess it's the green one. Let's go to the green guy. But yeah, I really want to stress that like Guild Wars 2 balance, especially in PvE, is extremely, yeah, like free. So you can play whatever you want and you will succeed with it. It might, I made a video about it a while ago where I said that might be a negative as well at some point, but I personally think for a new player or for a player that doesn't play all the classes, Guild Wars 2 is in a really, really well balanced state, in PvE specifically. So definitely play the game with the class that you enjoy the most. Yeah, good tip. I first started with Elementalist and got Tempest for a healing character, but I'm liking Gale Shot a lot more for my DPS guy. I mean, it's fair, you know, you don't have to play always the same character. I always mention that if you are having like more fun on a different character, just switch it up. You know, you don't have to always play with the same character through like thousands of hours of gameplay. I think Guild Wars 2's biggest strength is that it's very easy, or one of the biggest strengths is that you can very easily swap characters and play a different class. So sometimes I feel like I'm playing Guardian today. Then I play Guardian. And then an hour later, I feel like, nah, maybe it's not Guardian anymore. And then I swap to a different class. And this is almost the case for every player. If you get level 80 with one class, you can easily swap to another character and level it rather fast. It's just the first character that takes a bit, but if you get more experience in the game, you will also get more ways and faster ways to level your character. So in a lot of ways, Guild Wars 2 is very like character, alt character and different builds friendly, because you can easily switch and match what you need and what you want. Yeah, you might not have always the perfect gear yet, but that is fine. You know, you can either grind ascended gear or can get as exotic gear rather fast from the trading post or something like that. Or if you really wanted to, like I did, you can also go for legendaries. That's the ultimate convenience, going for legendary items and playing all the builds if you wanted to. So Guild Wars 2 is very friendly in that regard. So I think not a lot of other games have this same like ease of playing so many different builds. I just know that, for example, in World of Warcraft, if you want to play a character at the highest level, you need dozens, hundreds of hours to get the gear perfectly for that character. So it's very unrealistic to play multiple, even tens of different classes and builds at the maximum level. That is in Guild Wars 2 not the case. You know, you can play raids after 1 hour of playing a class because you can get the exotic gear from the trading post and you can level the character with Tomes of Knowledge. That's crazy. So I think Guild Wars 2 is very good in that regard. Yeah. Guild Wars 2 is the most alt-friendly MMO. Yeah, it might be true. I mean, I have not played all the MMOs, so I don't want to like say that is 100% the case, but I agree with you. It's very alt-friendly for sure. Yeah. Most PvE is a bit undertuned compared to other games, so most build works. Yeah, I agree. I think Guild Wars 2 PvE is, for the most part, a bit on the easy side, which is not negative. It's after all a bit of a casual game. But if you like to play different builds, I think that's probably one of the biggest positives that you can have. Yeah. What about balance in PvP and world versus world roaming? So balance in roaming is, I would say, decent. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Balance in PvP is a bit like, balance in PvP is always, I would say, one of the worst balances in the game, because it's the one that is the most affected by changes. So what do I mean by that? So if you nerf, for example, a specific healer build, yeah, and this is then a worse support, then this not only affects the healer, but it also affects the builds that were really good with this specific healer. This is more common in PvP than it is in other game modes, but because in PvP, smaller changes matter more. Because oftentimes if a cooldown is increased by 10 seconds, that might be a key skill and you might spam that very often, and then it gets actually quite a bit worse to build. So I would say PvP is a bit more rigid and the meta is not as flexible as others, but you can play every class. Every class is really competent of clearing stuff or getting like the rank 1. It's just skill most of the time. And some classes, for example, if you play Mechanist in PvP, it's way harder to get rank 1 than if you play like Conduit. But that doesn't mean it's not doable. So even there the balance is rather decent. It's just not as good as in PvP or world versus world roaming for that matter. What would you recommend as the first legendary trinket to go for, considering the ease of obtaining it? I would definitely 100% go for the Prismatic Regalia, so Prismatic Champions Regalia, because this legendary is essentially for free. You just have to get some achievements. You don't need to spend any gold. So that's by far the best option. If you already have that one specifically, then I would recommend maybe like Vision and Aurora are also quite cheap, quite easy to get for trinkets. Those would be my next spec. Yeah. Is your Ritualist Quick DPS build still viable after the nerf? Yes, it's still viable, but you need to get to 65% wound duration. So I think I pinned that in the comment, in the pinned comment. So if you want to have the perfect like quickness uptime, which you should aim for, you need 65% wound duration. So you need to change some diviner pieces in there. Yeah. So other than that, it's still up to date. It's just the nerf fixed a bug, and that makes it so that you actually have to invest more gear stats into wound duration. That's just how it goes. I think that is a reasonable change. It was really overperforming. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Osanoro. On the contrary, I like to play with one character, so choosing a class took me 200 hours. I used the free character slot as a bank vault. I mean, that's completely fine. I think Guild Wars 2 can be played in so many ways. You don't need to play every different like class and stuff like that. And then you can use it for storage space, for sure. I think Guild Wars 2 has so much freedom. I always say Guild Wars 2 is more like a sandbox MMO because you have so much that you can do, but you don't have to do. You have so much that you can play it as, or you don't have to play it as, that it's actually, I think, more sandboxy than a lot of other MMOs because you don't chase the carrot all the time. Some players like to play a single character in every game mode, every build is always on this character. Then do this. If you like to be like me and play 70 characters all the time with like 100 different builds, sure, go for that. I think Guild Wars 2 is very flexible in that regard. Yeah. Is there a portal item to get to Eye of the North? Yes. You can. I don't know how it's exactly called, but I have it in my Wizard's Vault Portal Tome here, Wizard's Portal Tome. And then you can go to Iceblood Saga Portal Tome, and then there is Eye of the North. You can always go to the wiki and find out how it's exactly called. But if I press this button, I travel to Eye of the North. Yes, so there is. I use that quite often for my strike missions and stuff like that, or Dragonstorm, for example. So yes, it's there. It's a good purchase. So the Wizard's Portal Scroll has no portals on its own. You have to get it the normal way. So if you want to get the Eye of the North portal, you have to purchase it, I think, from the Eye of the North vendor or something like that. And then you can put it in the Wizard's Portal Tome, and then you can have all the Portal Tomes, so to say, in one location. That's the Portal Tome is, so to say, just a convenience item. It's not an item that actually has the portals on itself, by itself. You just have to get it first, and then you have, so to say, a library of all the Portal Tomes. Yeah. Exactly, like the Wizard's Gobbler. Exactly. So it's a good item, but I think it could be better because it's like you have to click through a lot of different things. You know, it's like you have to multiple button presses. I think in an ideal case, if I double click it, it would open a window, maybe something like an achievement panel or something like that, where I can then, let's go for some collection, Legendary Weapon Collection, where I then see all the possible locations with an icon and I just have to click on it. Something like that would be, in my opinion, better than having to open a window, then another window, and then I can teleport there. I think that's a bit annoying, but at least it only uses one shared inventory slot now, which is obviously better than having to have like 10 different portal tomes in 10 shared inventory slots. Yep. The Eye of the North one is default in the Wizard's Portal? Okay, never mind then. That's good. Good to know. I mean, that's you know, if you're a veteran and play the game for too long, you forget how you got it. So good point then by chat. Thanks for mentioning that, James. I don't want to spread misinformation here. Yes, okay, then it's already default in there. That's even better. Even better. Then you just have to get the Wizard's Vault or Wizard's Portal Tomes thing. So pretty good then. Pretty good value. Holy moly, our commander just killed 2 people or something like. Holy moly, that was a lot of burst damage. Very good. Yeah, there are a lot of, like, Guild Wars 2 nowadays. The modern Guild Wars 2 has a lot of good convenience items that for a new player make the game way more convenient to play. And that's actually quite crazy because when the game started out, for example, we didn't even have auto loot and stuff like that. So yeah, the game got a lot better over the years. And the Wizard's Portal Tome is one of those quality of life items that I think is actually quite good. Shared inventory slots as well. There are so many good things that over the course of time, Guild Wars 2 made so much quality that it's way more like fun and less annoying to play. I really like that. I hope they increase that, and I hope whatever they do with the future of Guild Wars, I think they should always try to do that. That's really, really good. Quality of life is what keeps me playing a game. If a game is good with combat and stuff, but the quality of life is bad, I will quit at some point. But if the quality of life is good, I will play the game for a long while. Yeah. Yeah, there's always like, there's a lot of small changes come in over the course of time. And if you are not always keeping track of all the patch notes or watching all my news videos, you might miss some of them. That's just normal. That's just normal, yeah. Definitely, I think the 3 quality of life upgrades they did, like, they are so good. Like, definitely. I think, for example, the last update with the fashion templates and the raid update got a lot of negative feedback. But I think it still deserves praise when it comes to the UI of raids. This now, to open a new raid encounter via like just pressing a button and don't having to leave the instance, that's awesome. They actually know what players want. They just don't always deliver everything all at once. But I personally think they, especially for the raid rewards, the raid update, that was really good. So I'm with you there. I think quality of life that they push out is actually quite good. Yeah. Yeah, I think the wardrobe is one of the most underrated systems. You know, I don't even engage. I'm not joking. I don't even engage with Fashion Wars in Guild Wars 2. However, I have the guaranteed wardrobe unlock as an item completed, so to say. There's nothing in there anymore because I just like to have stuff completely done. Yeah, for me, it's still, I like to be a completionist. So even though I don't really care about fashion, I still have to complete my stuff. That's so funny to me. It really is. So yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I think the wardrobe feature, the material storage, I think that's another good feature. Like the wardrobe is really good. Look at how many cool skins you can get and stuff like that. But also the material storage, it's such a nice quality of life feature. It's so good because you just have to press one button and all your materials that you gathered go into your material storage. Stuff like that. And you can pull it out, you see all the materials, it's so good. I really like those systems. And I think it's one of the most predatory practices that we have in MMOs, especially free-to-play MMOs, that you have to purchase bag slots and stuff like that with actual real money. I think that's really bad. In Guild Wars 2, it's somewhat bad because you need more bag slots at some point maybe, but you can at least purchase it with in-game gold. That's the good part. So yeah, I think like it's not perfect, but good arguments for really good quality of life here. Is the day-night works in raid fractals? No. In fractals, yes. In raids, no. In raids, it's always daytime, so it doesn't work. And in fractals, it is depending on the fractals. Some fractals, it's night. Some fractals, it's day. The newer fractals typically are on day, but the older fractals sometimes are on night. And some of the fractals even have only a specific mob type. So for example, what is a good example? Like the dredge facility one has dredge, yeah? So that means that you can, for example, get the dredge potion and the dredge slaying sigil and then you get like 20% more damage. That's a lot of damage. So yeah, definitely there are some things that you can consider as being, so to say, working in fractals, but in raids nothing of that nature works. Nothing of that nature works. I don't know, it feels like we are like really like not doing much here on this map. Not much happening here. Yeah, the quick play is definitely not perfect. I was not talking about the quick play specifically. I think the quick play is probably one of the worst implementations that they had regarding like instance content, because it raid quick play and there's not a single old raid encounter in there. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But yeah, maybe they improve on that, maybe they iterate on that, but for now it looks a little bit like not the best system. I'm with you there, but the UI for the raids is really good, I would say. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just better, but the fractal quick play is also just better, and it has been in this state since like, when was it? September of last year. So effectively, it is now like over half a year. I'm not even sure if when they will release another iteration of it. You know, they never told us. So is there something coming? Is this like staying in beta forever? I don't know. I hope there will be more iterations and it will improve. Maybe even with more rewards. Who knows? But for now, I don't know. It looks a little bit like not perfect. Not perfect, I would say. I don't know. Not much happening here. Not much happening. Quick play beta will outlive us all. Maybe. I mean, I hope not. But for now, I have to be honest. I think the quick play is not like that much of an urgent thing that they want to put out. Like, it doesn't look like it. Otherwise, they would have told us, yeah, that is the plan for the next couple of months or for the whole year. But for now, we don't know anything about quick play. So, yeah, it's just my educated guess here. Yeah, maybe, I think in general, it's really good if you have more, if you get inspiration from other games. You know, I don't exactly know how transmogging in World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV works. I'm just not deep enough in those games. But I think if they are good, you should just try to implement that similarly in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I think that would be an awesome way to improve the system, because right now it feels like the system is not perfect and they could improve on that, in my opinion. Oh my god, they're back. They are back. It's called beta, as in you get you better get used to it. I like it. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think that's probably what they meant with it. Yeah. So let's see if we can run away. I am pretty sure I can, because I'm really, really tanky. Not much going on today. Sad. As usual, the biggest issue with Guild Wars 2 is that there's not enough of it. I rarely have issues with updates, except the fact that they aren't finished. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm playing the game for over 12 years at this point, and I'm with you there. I think the biggest reason why a lot of people quit is not because the game is bad. I think that's a really, really rare reason. I think the biggest reason why people quit Guild Wars 2 is because they just don't know what to do anymore. Because the game is like good and the updates are mostly good, but they are just too small. If even the expansions are good, but at some point they are too small. And I think WoW, Final Fantasy, they have the same problem, that they cannot keep up with the content they put out, typically with the tryhard players. I think that's just normal. At some point, the players outrun the developers with what they actually play. But in Guild Wars 2, that's so fast that typically if you come and have a quarterly update in Guild Wars 2, that is not the expansion release, you are done within a week or 2 weeks. And then you have 2.5 months to wait for the next quarterly update. That is a bit sad. And I think that if they could improve that and the people would stick around a bit longer, that would actually improve quite a lot of the population and the, yeah, just interaction of the community. Yeah. Yeah, I also wish they had more resources. I really wish, because the game could be so good if we had more resources. It already is really good, don't get me wrong. I just think it has so much potential. So much potential if we had more players and more engagement. So far, I'm really happy how Guild Wars 2 has come out so far. But one thing I always wanted is support for multi-thread CPU on the game. Yeah, that is... They've tried to improve that, but it's really... The engine is like, at this point, 25 years old, you know? It's the modified Guild Wars 1 engine, and they developed the Guild Wars 1 engine in 2000. That is crazy. So the engine that Guild Wars 2 runs on is pretty much over 25 years old. So back then, like, multiple cores to use for the gameplay was not an issue, but now it is, and that's definitely something that they should like keep in mind. But I always mention that here. I think that will be something for another game. I think it's unrealistic that they actually really do that in like Guild Wars 2 and update it. I think it's very unrealistic. Yeah. The fact that anyone can understand the code still is insane. Yeah, I mean, that is for me personally, that goes for all big projects that are like over 20 years old. Like, using code that is 20 years old is one thing, but then having like, I don't know, in the probably hundreds of people working on that code over the years, and then leaving and then someone else coming and trying to read the code is pretty crazy to me. So that the game is actually running that smoothly is quite surprising to me. Yeah, especially that's the second thing. I mentioned it very early today in stream, that one of the best things in Guild Wars 2 is the economy. And another the second best thing that Guild Wars 2 has that no one praises it for is that the servers are never down. The servers in Guild Wars 2 are never down, even though it's such an old engine, it's such an old, so to say, networking system, it's never down. You can have big player spikes when the expansion comes out. You can have big 50 versus 50 versus 50 Zerg fights. The servers stand. They stand. Yes, you might have some lags in big fights, but the servers are never down. You can log in the middle of the night. There are no maintenance servers. Ever. It's crazy. This is one of the best selling points if they would market it well. It's crazy because it's a good game that you can play whenever you want. Even the biggest games in the company, in the genre, typically have some kind of server maintenance or some kind of downtime when a new big expansion drops or something like that. Guild Wars 2 doesn't. You can just play always. It's crazy. It really is. Even with the old engine. Yeah. I will take the quirks of this old engine instead of Unreal Engine 5. I have no clue how good or bad Unreal Engine 5 is. I think the developers know more, so I will trust them, yeah, what they do. Plot twist, no maintenance because no one knows how to. I mean, if it works, you know, that could be the plot twist of the year, but, you know, if it works, if the servers are still up and no one, like, manages them, I mean, that's good as well. I think they have a special system that is, like, on paper, all the companies know how to do it, or so how it can be done, that you have permanent servers up, but they just cannot actually get it implemented. And Guild Wars 2 actually did. That's the crazy part, I think. It's not a secret, it's just hard to do. And I think ArenaNet knows. So that's, I guess, a good selling point. I also understand that it would cost them too much at the end to fix that. It's just not worth it for them. At this point, I would also have just put the money into the Guild Wars 3 if it comes out. Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Super Merkel. I think at this point, I would be very surprised if they don't push out the game, like another game in the next couple of years. I would be very surprised. And then it would probably have all the things that you dream of in terms of new engine. I would be so surprised if they would still use the old Guild Wars 2 engine. I highly doubt it. Like, I would say it's almost impossible that they will do that. Yeah. People still on Copium for Guild Wars 3? I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I don't know what the other people think. I think there are people that hate the idea of that. There are people that love the idea. I think there's always a big spread there. What can we do? Welcome, Paris. Welcome, welcome. I'm having a good weekend, a good stream. Hopefully you have as well. Yeah, but, you know, one thing, I cannot talk about the next years in Guild Wars 2, or Guild Wars, whatever it comes out, yeah? I cannot talk about that. I don't know what's going on. But I can talk about the future of Guild Wars 2. And the last balance patch was in January. I think it was January 13th. So it's exactly 2 months ago. And I hope that we get a new balance patch soon. Typically, we get a balance patch every 3 months. However, they also typically tell us almost a month before the balance patch that there will be a balance patch live stream preview or something like that. And they didn't tell us this yet. So I'm a bit like concerned that we don't get a balance patch. I was really hoping for some changes. For example, Weaver. I was hoping for some changes to like Herald, stuff like that. Those classes are a bit underperforming. I really hope that there will be a balance patch and some changes to that. Oh my god, we have a support. So that is the more the news that I was hoping for. Like, of course, if there is some other game in development, I also hope for news about that. But it's more likely that we get some news about balance patch updates. That's my hope here. Yeah. I'm slowly getting into World vs. World. Which website do you recommend for up-to-date World vs. World builds? I think World vs. World builds nowadays are also on Snowcrows. So you can actually get some good like input about World vs. World build on Snowcrows nowadays as well. So it's probably the go-to build website, other than, of course, my YouTube channel if you want to see videos in action. But I would say Snowcrows is probably one of the best. Okay, this is a catalyst. That's a good target here, I guess. Nice. Hopefully we get the kill. We should get the kill here, I think. Yep, there we go. Took longer than it needed to, but okay. We got the kill. Nice, we get the bait. I thought the cast would be faster. It's a bit sad now. Now I'm in a 1v2 against 2 elementalists. Oh my god. That was not good. Okay, maybe we get the rest here. Probably not. Sad. Very sad. Now we lost our support as well. I thought they... Is that support? No, it's not support. I thought they could actually get the rest, but it's not even the support. Yeah, not good, not good. Is there a way to check which finisher is worth the most for PvP event? You can go to the wiki. On the wiki, you should probably... If you go to the... How is it called? Permanent Finisher's Choice box. If you go to this page on the wiki, you should be able to... see which are the possible choices, and then you should also be able to see which of them are the most expensive ones. Yes. There are a lot of people here. Okay. Got the juke, that's good. What? How did that hit me? No way. How did this burning speed hit me? No way. That's actually crazy. I'm standing so much on top and it still hit me. That's crazy. Nice, it knocked me down. That's actually crazy. Absolutely insane. Guild Wars 3 or any MMO will fail monetarily due to modern cost of resources? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't judge about things that I have no like actual clue about. That's like, I don't know. I hope it will not fail if they will ever do that, but I cannot tell. I cannot tell. Okay, we got a kill here. Get some more kills here. That was a lot of damage. A lot of damage. But we're losing the whole map for that. That's not good. I mean, I think I can handle this guy. Balance stance is really annoying. I will catch up in chat in your comments in a second. I just don't want to waste the team's energy here. We can win this. We can definitely win this. Okay, we get the decap here. That's good. Forcing the node. Hopefully they will have to re-engage here. That was a bit unlucky. Should win this 1-on-1 now. Come on. There we go, finally. That took too long, way too long. We're still 150 points behind. I will probably stream for like half an hour more or something like that. Pretty sure something around this. First off, thank you for all the YouTube guides you put out. Glad you enjoyed them, Nirman. Glad you enjoyed them. Now I'm getting into PvP after playing PvE for a while. I'm not really finding any in-depth content for how to play against a specific class. So I have a series of guides about how to play against certain classes and builds, but it's really hard because like the problem is you just have to play more. That's the most common issue. Just have to play more, and then you'll get better at it. I have videos about it, but the problem is not a lot of people watch those videos. So I put a lot of effort into learning those classes and builds, and talk about how to counterplay certain classes and stuff like that. But it's not enough people that actually... Oh my god. Okay. Is that the 1v3 here? We have to concentrate here for a second. That is crazy. It's the 1v3. It is the 1v3. The long awaited 1v3. That's crazy. We also have to hold the node though. That's crazy. Okay, now I can go from the node. Okay, kill. No, he didn't get the kill. I mean, that was already worth the match, you know, that was already worth. Getting a kill, 2 kills in a 1v3. Okay, we got them. Now we just have to get the Skyhammer. There we go. Focus on the match. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to catch up on chat, but it feels like this match is actually winnable. Even though it does not look that good, but it could be winnable. We are still 100 points only behind. That's possible. Possible to win. It's still 7 minutes on the clock, you know, it's possible, it's possible. Yeah. So I have some guides about how to play against certain classes. I also have beginner guide for PvP. Oh my god, there are 2 people here again. That was a very disgusting blind. Holy moly. And that was a very, very bad teleport. Okay, we have to try to hold this like here. We didn't get the kill though, that's a bit sad. Nice, we did get the kill. Now we can hopefully hold them here in the 1v2. Sad. Now I could have won that if I played it better, but the immobilize from the downstate elementalist actually killed me there. So sad. So sad. We could have won it. Yes, see you next time, Alpharon. See you next time. Yeah. Yeah, the problem is like the meta changes so often and PvP and stuff like that it's really hard to make videos about a certain build or how to counterplay it, because it might change until I make the video or 1 month later after that. So I have a couple of builds about or videos about how to counterplay, but yeah, it's just not perfect, sadly. There's always like either the viewers don't want to watch it, or if they want to watch it, it might be outdated next month. It's just the sad truth. Yeah. Yeah, I'm lucky to not show you the stream, the chat here on stream from the in-game, because it's actually pretty concerning. What they're writing a lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff in the chat. They are really toxic here. Classic PvP experience. When you lose, you have some people flaming each other. Not good, not good. %? No! Stay! Oh my god. Yeah, it's sadly over. I cannot get the decap in... Oh, we got the decap in time. I mean, we could still win, you know, it's still not lost. It's not lost. But there are 2 people. I have to defend the node here. Yeah, I cannot defend everything. That's the problem. That's the problem. So sad. So sad. What can you do? What can you do? Yeah, downstate in PvP is yeah, sometimes painful. Sometimes painful. But what can you do? What can you do? That's just how it goes, I guess. Hey all, I wasted my Wizard's Vault Ascended chest on a different armor type. I play solo and play Fractals. Should I focus on Celestial build for both or just get a DPS Ascended build first? So if you play really hard stuff solo, so like you challenge legendary bounties solo or something like that, then Celestial is often very good. But if you play Fractals and if you play open world just casually and have sometimes people around you, then I think Berserker gear is probably one of the best options because it just makes you very flexible. Almost all the classes have Berserker builds. So if you like to go for that, it's really good. Like getting a DPS Ascended build first, like Berserker, maybe Dragon, maybe Viper, stuff like that, is probably your better bet if you play Fractals, because there this is the meta. Yeah, I would say, yeah. I have Exotic for both, but not sure what to go for first with the Ascended pieces. I would say then if you already have full Exotic for both of them, I would probably say the best bet is going for the DPS build for Fractals first, because there you actually need Ascended gear. You know, in PvE, only in Fractals you need Ascended gear, because only there you need the infusions. Everything else is, so to say, you can clear in full Exotic. Even raids, even open world, everything like that is completely fine in full Exotics. So I would definitely recommend Ascended gear for Fractals and a DPS build for that first. Celestial is only for really good players that know exactly what the group can do and stuff like that. Then you can play Celestial healers in Fractals, but that is not something that a new player should try. Yeah. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps you. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions or if you have more questions, just let me know. I'm always happy to answer. I cannot promise you anything. I will try to answer, but I cannot promise that I know every single thing. But yeah, I mean, Guild Wars 2 has a lot of stuff to talk about if you're a new player, a lot of questions. So hopefully you will get to know the answers of all of them at some point. It's just a big game after so many years. But yeah, what I was saying was that, like, I hope we get a balance patch in beginning of April, because we know there will be the new quarterly patch in May, and I was really hoping that we get some news about a balance patch soon. I don't know, maybe it will happen, maybe it will not happen, but I really hope it will happen very soon, because I think balancing is important. Underused specs should be buffed, like Herald, Weaver, stuff like that. I really hope they do that, make that happen. But who knows? Who knows what they have planned? Yeah, I mean, then it's good. Then it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's always happy to help. You know, it's like I try to answer all the questions I see in chat. Sometimes I miss some, then just ask again. And sometimes I don't know it. But if I know the answer, I always try to really get you the best answer possible. Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like Guild Wars 2 or all big games like MMOs have a similar issue that a new player will struggle with, like, understanding the most basic things in the beginning, because there's so much to understand. So much to understand. So that's why I really like to be the veteran that helps you out. And that's my big goal here, for sure. Is Harbinger as versatile for PvE as Reaper is? Or should I start with Reaper? So I personally think Harbinger is even more versatile than Reaper, because it can fill support roles where Reaper can only fill DPS roles. However, Reaper is a bit more defensive. Yeah, So that means a bit more forgiving. Harbinger is the necromancer spec that is the squishiest. So it is just baseline. If you want to be a bit on the safer side, I think Reaper is the better option. If you want to be someone that does not care necessarily about safety all the time because you trust your dodging skills or you trust your encounter knowledge, then I think it's better if you can play Harbinger, because Harbinger is more flexible. Harbinger can be played as a condition DPS, a power DPS. You can play it as a really good solo build. You can play it as a quickness DPS. You can play it as a healer even. Reaper does not have those options. Reaper is always a DPS build. It's a really good DPS build, and it's really good in solo play as well, but it's not as flexible as Harbinger. So both have their strengths. Choose the one that you like the strength or value the strength more, but both are fine. I think there is not a better choice here. Yeah, and that could be different for competitive modes, but for PvE, I think both are completely valuable. We have a 101 maybe? No, they evaded. Sad. But it's like almost every class in PvE, especially if you look at specific class and the elite specs subclasses of it, there is always an argument for bringing this over that elite spec over that elite spec. It's really just like choose the elite spec that you like the look of most, because in the end, like all of them have strengths and weaknesses. All of them. Okay, can we win this? That is nasty. I think we win this now. There we go. There we go. So, would Reaper be better choice for difference of gameplay if I choose Skirts as my first elite spec? That is a good question. I would say the answer is yes. If you have already a Scourge, which can fill the support roles really well, then I think it would be better to go for a Harbinger, because it can fill the, so to say, missing roles that a Scourge cannot do, which is most notably power DPS. Scourge is horrendous at a power DPS. It's really not recommended. Then I would say Reaper is probably like a perfect, so to say, like fit for that. Yeah. Good analysis. Yeah, I would agree. This is probably the best combination that you can do if you have only 2 to learn yet. Yeah, I agree. Loving your videos on Zero to Hero and working my way through them all. As I don't have Wizard's Vault as an option, are raids the best way to get Ascended Gear? Yes. I would say raids are probably the best way nowadays to get Ascended Gear. You can play PvP, World vs. World Fractals as well. But I think for new players, I think getting into raids, especially the easy raids like the Icebrood Saga raid encounters, or like, for example, like the easy End of Dragon Strike missions that are now raids. So for example, I don't know, Aetherblade Hideout. Those are extremely easy and they give you magnetite shards and stuff, and that can be used to get Ascended Gear. So it's extremely easy and accessible, and a lot of people play it, while it also gives you gold. So it's, in my opinion, the perfect way of getting into full gear without having to invest a lot of time and effort, because you just play an instance multiple times a week or something like that. That is my recommended way of doing it, but I can see some people really dislike instance content in PvE, then this is obviously not the way to do it. But I personally would say that's probably one of the best, if not the best way of getting Ascended Gear right now, is raids, yeah. With the reward update, it's extremely valuable. Extremely good, yeah. But I think it's really important to mention Guild Wars 2 is such a huge game, and some players play only PvE, some players play only PvP. You always have to take everything I say here with a grain of salt, because I play every game mode. So that means that I can give you the answer what I think is, for me, or objectively, depending on what you define as that, the best answer to this question. That does not necessarily mean it's the best answer for you, because I might say the best way of getting hero points is by playing World vs. World, because you will get them passively. That might be true for players that are like me and play World vs. World anyway, but for players that never touch World vs. World, this is an answer that is straight up not the case. It's just not how it is. So you always have to either ask the question more detailed or just take it a bit with a grain of salt, because it always depends on what kind of player you actually are. Hope that makes sense here. How do we feel about quickness DPS Herald for PvE content, and is there a limit when it becomes redundant? So quick DPS Herald is for me a very, very good pick for a new player to get into quick DPS, because it's extremely safe. It's one of the easiest quickness DPS builds to play. Easy rotation, easy boon up time. The problem is if you go for like challenge modes. I would say that's the point where I would say there you begin to struggle a bit, because there, quickness DPS Herald, you notice that the other players are actually hopefully decent if you go into challenge mode, fractals, challenge mode, raids, and you just don't have enough damage to actually upkeep with all the other quick DPS builds. Yeah, so at this point, I would say it might be an issue. But before that, nah. I think for most players, before that, the quick DPS Herald, yeah, it has less damage, but it's probably such a safe pick that it actually is worth it to take. I think just if you get into really good groups, speedrunning groups, or if you go into challenge mode groups, then maybe consider going for something that has more DPS. But for normal pack groups, for normal modes, I think quick DPS Herald is completely fine. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, Ritualist is a good choice as well. Ritualist is a really, really good choice. It's also quite easy, quite tanky. I think that's probably one of the best specs if you like the design of it. I personally am not the biggest fan of Ritualist design. I think it's a bit too minion focused. I like Reaper, I like Harbinger, even Scourge I like more, because Ritualist is not my headcanon, my class fantasy. But that's fine, you know, I'm not saying objectively that Ritualist is bad. I think Ritualist is actually really good. It's just not for me. Yeah. What class builds do you recommend for raids? I've never played raids. So it depends what kind of, so to say, role you want to fill. But I would say 99% of the cases I would recommend you to start with a DPS player, because then you have the least responsibilities in raids. And I would recommend to start with a low intensity build, you know? So a build that is just pressing a couple of buttons in a rotation, so that you can actually focus on learning the bosses instead of learning the rotation, your class, and the bosses. So in my opinion, check out my low intensity playlist on YouTube, or my low intensity tier list if you want to know, and then you will hopefully see what classes and builds I would recommend for players to get into raids, because in my opinion, like, getting into raids is not as hard as people make it out to be. The more important part is that you actually understand the encounters after you did it a couple of times, so that you actually can do other roles, other builds as well, and then you can actually carry your group as well. That is, in my opinion, that's what's causing long-term success, is understanding the actual mechanics and not just getting carried, but actually becoming the carry. Yeah, so if you want to get into raids, you can always join Raid Training Initiative and Crossroads In, which are two really good Discord servers if you want to get into raids, because they have really nice training runs and all that stuff. But even if you just want to start out with the easy raids, I think one of the best ways to do so is starting with a low intensity DPS build and just joining easy groups that don't ask for any kill proof. Yeah. Would be a quick DPS conduit a better option? Yes. Quick DPS conduit is a way better option nowadays than quickness DPS Herald. It has more damage, it has more utility in a lot of cases. It's not as tanky and as easy to play, but it's still very easy. So if you would have a scale between 1 being extremely easy and 10 being very hard, I would put Herald on 1 because it's extremely easy to play, and quickness DPS conduit probably on like 2. It's still very, very easy. So yeah, definitely a better option because it's still very easy and has way more DPS. So definitely the best choice for Revenant enjoyers that want to play quick DPS, for sure. And that's why I think like Herald needs a look at. That's why I think Herald should be improved, because Herald for me is just so weak that it never justifies playing a Herald if you also have the option of playing a conduit. It's just really like not a real option in my opinion. And I think that should not be the case. I think every class should be an option, should be on paper. You should be able to play it. Yeah. yeah, always happy to help. Hope you have fun with it. Also having a build guide coming up about it very soon, so stay tuned for that one. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes. Like, balancing can never be perfect, you know. That's just how it is. I don't want to say that like Herald is bad, but I think Herald should be buffed. I think there will always be a build that is a bit worse than other builds. That's just, I accept that. I accept that. But like Herald, maybe Weaver, those should be maybe taken a look at again. What would be your choice for first mass melee spec? I think it depends on what kind of content you want to do and what kind of role you want to fill. I would say if you want to play a DPS build in PvE, I would say Virtuoso. In general, Virtuoso is probably the easiest to learn. If you want to play a support, I would say Chronomancer. Those two are my top choices. I think for DPS, Virtuoso, Power Virtuoso specifically. It's also playable in all game modes, that's really good. Or if you want to play support, Chronomancer, yeah. Yes, I have a stream schedule. It's always on my Twitch stream. You can check it out there. The stream schedule is always in the schedule section on Twitch. Sadly, YouTube doesn't have that feature, so I don't know where to say that, where to tell you that. But it's on Twitch, yeah. You can see it on Twitch. I currently have a bit of like real-time issues to resolve before I can get back to streaming more than one time per week. But every Saturday is typically what I stream now. And I will try to get more during the weekdays as well. But let's see if I can resolve my real life issues first, and then let's do that. Also, if there's more happening in Guild Wars 2, that might also help get more attention for sure. I hope they do. I don't like Quick DPS Conduit as much. Yeah, I think Quick DPS Conduit is a bit like a boring implementation of a Quick DPS, because it's like, yeah, you're just playing a DPS build that presses like the same buttons as usual, and you provide quickness by legend swapping. It's not very exciting. I like to have more builds that are a bit more like you actually have a rotation that is altered because of your like choice of build that you want to play. I don't really like if you just say, okay, this skill functionally behaves exactly the same, just now it provides quickness. I think that's a bit boring. The same goes for Evoker. I think that's a very easy fix, but it's not a very interesting combat design. I think it's more interesting, like for example, Scrapper is very interesting with how it applies quickness. I think even Harbinger is more interesting because it actually needs to stay in Shroud a bit longer or stuff like that. So personally, I think there are some differences in how fun it is, but I think it's still a very strong choice, yeah. Is Windy still in PvE? I never see any. Yeah, Vindicator is still pretty bad in PvE, yeah, sadly. Vindicator is probably the worst spec in terms of like overall performance in PvE. I have to be honest, maybe it's together with Herald, those two are probably the worst specs in PvE in general. Like, it doesn't matter if you're talking about competitive like modes, or if you're talking about PvE in terms of healing, or if you're talking about of damage. I think Vindicator and Herald are just left behind. I'm not saying they are bad builds, not at all. I think they are good builds, but if you compare to the other builds, then they fall off, and that's a problem. That's a problem to me, because that means that they are not balanced. That's just how, by definition, balance is. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Vindicator is a very fun spec. It's like dodging on enemies. I think that's a fun concept, but it's just not that good. You know, you have full melee DPS. You have literally like one ranged attack. That's it, and you have less damage than other, like for example, Power Conduit, and you have no ranged option, and you have no CC. I don't know. Why would you pick it other than fun? And to be honest, at some point you have to say it's not even that fun anymore if you deal way less damage than your counterpart. So sad, very sad. Yeah, it's true. They are not even that good in competitive modes either. So it's like, I don't know. They need some help. That's why I was hoping for a balance patch announcement this week. I hope we get one next week. Maybe at some point at least. I really hope we get a balance patch announcement. Those would be my top contenders. Like Viva, and then of course Vindicator and Herald. Those three specs are for me, especially Vindicator, is for me like it needs a look at. Like either change the mechanic to be more like have more impact, or just, sorry for the pun here, or make it so that it actually has better numbers, you know? If the numbers would be like 3k higher or something, people might consider it again. Might be a boring fix, but it would fix it a bit. But I think Herald, if you look at it, or the numbers, or maybe just how you can play it, maybe make it more healer friendly, because Heal Herald is really interesting, has one of the best passive heals. I don't know, maybe make it more flexible. Stuff like that. I think there could be some improvements made to actually make Herald Vindicator more interesting to pick up, other than just changing the numbers, but who knows? I don't know what the balanced team is actually thinking about. Yeah. Imagine a world with quick DPS or Alacrity DPS Vindicator. Yeah, that's the crazy part. I think Vindicator, Elect DPS is like somewhat similar to Druid. It's like almost impossible to play because you sacrifice a 25% damage buff for picking Alacrity. That's just insane at this point. Even more than that on Vindicator, actually. It's quite bad. So I hope they rethink how that works a bit. Like a little bit rethinking how Vindicator does damage or applies Alacrity. That would be actually very interesting. But I have to be honest, I don't see them changing the Alacrity application. I think they might change the numbers of the DPS build, but that's pretty much... I don't expect more for Vindicator. I don't expect a full rework. I'm just too realistic there, I would say. I was a big fan of Vindicator as a support in Zerg, but they are not as great compared to other supports. I think it's still very good as a healer. It's just not as good as like providing stability as Luminary, or it does not have good boon strip or something. But as a healer, I think it's still okay in Zergs. I think World vs. World is probably the game mode where you can play Vindicator the most by far. I think it's in World vs. World actually a decent pick. Not like top tier meta, I would say, in some Zergs, but definitely a really good pick. At least so as far as I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's not an easy build. You have to press a lot of buttons for sure. I mean, you also do that on DPS versus Elect Tempest. That is true, but the problem is that Vindicator has nothing. That why you know I agree with you that you lose a lot of DPS if you go for Elect Tempest over normal DPS Tempest. But Tempest doesn't lose the utility that it gets from overloading, from shouts and stuff like that. Vindicator, the only reason why you would play an Alacrity Vindicator is because it might deal more damage than another Alacrity DPS build. But the problem is, if the damage is not there, then why do you even pick it in the first place? That's the big problem. So I'm definitely with you there, that it's good that you have traits that have huge damage loss if you provide a permanent boon like Quickness or Alacrity. But if the drop is big and you have no utility to justify not taking another Electric DPS build that doesn't have such a big drop, then I think it gets a bit like sketchy. Hope that makes sense here. Yeah. Does Revenant still suffer from the challenges you mentioned in your previous video? Yes. It's still a very inflexible class. Herald, Renegade, Vindicator, Conduit. Conduit probably the least, but all of the elite specs have the problem that it's just inflexible. Revenant is inflexible because of the legends. The legends always lock you into a specific playstyle, and you don't... For example, on Elementalist, I'm playing Evoker right now. I can play triple stun break if I wanted to. Revenant can never do that because you're locked into your elites legends and your normal legends, the core legends. So it's like you never can adjust it to your situation if you wanted to have it like that. That is most dire for support Revenants, but it's definitely noticeable as any Revenant. And that's a problem, yeah. What builds are currently strong in SPVP? So I would say there are like a couple of them that are really strong. So let's take a look at it. I think Evoker is really good in ranked. I think Paragon is extremely good. Like this is, by the way, a Fresh Air Evoker, something like that. Then Paragon as a support or as a side noder, those are really good. I think Daredevil is extremely good as a DPS build, or as a roaming build. I think Power Conduit is extremely good. And what else do we have? I think Luminary is extremely strong. Should have mentioned it earlier. Luminary as a DPS build, DPS Roamer. Luminary is extremely good. And yeah, I think probably Todd Evoker is still decent as well. But like, I think in ranked you can play a lot of the builds that I mentioned, they are top tier. And then I think then after that, you have a decent tier that is really big. You have a lot of classes that are decent, but not like top tier. But you can watch my PvP ranked tier list if you want a detailed analysis of that as well. Yeah, Luminary is extremely good. That is true. Isn't Herald as a good support build? I think Hammer or Elecquil, or am I mistaken? No, it's sadly, it's a decent support build, but the problem is you don't have the flexibility that other supports have. If you play Herald as a support build, you have good healing, you have good boon output, you have good CC, but you have no reflex, you have almost no Condi cleanse, you have no stability or very little stability, or it's just Herald is like very inflexible, and that kills it as a support build. Because the other supports are jack of all trades. They have everything in one kit. Herald just has really good healing. That's the main standout point. But that's not enough, sadly, in the current meta. Yeah. Yeah, Ranger is decent. Gate Shot is probably the best Ranger build right now. But it's not the best, like, top tier build. I think Luminary is killing Ranger way more, sadly. Yeah. But yeah. Either way, I think that's the end of today's stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your nice debates and discussion. Hope you enjoyed it. And wish you all a very nice weekend. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I hope to see you all in the next stream. And by the way, if you want to purchase any expansion, maybe with some upcoming sale if there, you can always use my referral link if you want to support me for free. But either way, wish you a very nice day, very nice weekend. See you around. Thanks for watching.